We did all right yesterday.
I can't remember.
Can you not remember yesterday?
Yes.
You can. The delayed reaction.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
You do.
One day runs into the other, you know.
That's very
philosophical.
Yeah, that's very deep. Do you want to talk to me later?
The days go slow, the weeks go slow, but the years go fastly.
Oh.
The years go
Who wrote them words? Is that
I don't know.
A guy called G. Hughes or something like that?
Probably some Egypt. Some Egypt called G. Hughes.
Yeah, poetry by the man himself. Come here,
so that was Gloria, Laura Branigan.
Yeah, I would never have played that only for Niall message.
This is no crack now. People can send in the requests via audio.
I would love if we could do a thing. You know, the song that goes into us, into the news would be, you know, they would pick themselves.
So that's the audience pick every day.
Yeah.
But they would have to do it via voice note.
Yes, I want the voice note.
Okay, so if you want to play the last song on the show leading into the handover, you have to send in a voice note requesting it and why you want to hear it.
So you can either do it on Messenger or you can either do it on WhatsApp. Okay. Handy pandy. Just say last song, blah de blah, and then I'll play it.
So the listener's last song.
Yes. What could you call that?
LLS, man. It's the LLS. Listener's last song.
LLS. Listener last song. LLS. The LLS.
Anyway, we can brainstorm later. So if you want to choose the last song, send a voice message in during the show tomorrow.
Powerful. Thanks. We'll see how it goes.
And maybe it might become a feature.
You never know.
All right, good
Cheers,
stuff.
man.
Well done, Lee. Have a lovely Thursday. It's the 9 till noon show. After we get the news headlines at 9:minute, my apologies to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach has told the Northern Ireland Secretary that Gardaí will not be sent to police the border. Micheál Martin spoke with Chris Heaton-Harris by phone last night, with the latter reiterating the UK government won't take back asylum seekers who cross the border from the north. In the House of Lords last night, former DUP Deputy Leader Nigel Dodds raised this concern.
The Irish government talk about 80% of people coming in through Northern Ireland and has not produced any real evidence as to the actual figures. But can we be assured that Northern Ireland will not become a dumping ground? There won't be any people border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom.
A second Derry City and Strabane District Councillor has announced they are resigning from the SDLP. It's as the fallout over the selection of Councillor Lillian Sinoy Barr as the next Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council continues. Earlier this week, Strabane Councillor Jason Barr stepped back from the SDLP as he believed the selection process to put forward Councillor Sinoy Barr was undemocratic. Councillor Shauna Cusack has to announce her resignation from the SDLP, as she says to remain would be to acquiesce in the denial of local democracy. Councillor Cusack has appealed to people to welcome Councillor Sinoy Barr as the new mayor and to reject and condemn any ugly, racist or hurtful language being used. Donegal Councillor Jerry Crawford has reconsidered his decision to retire from politics and will now contest the upcoming local elections. Councillor Crawford, an elected member of Donegal County Council since 1999 in the Lifford-Stranorla Municipal District, announced a number of weeks ago that he would not be seeking re-election. He now says, on reflection, he was not fully happy with his decision and says he is keen to see the projects he has been working on over the last number of years be delivered. Letterkenny man Declan Jordan, meanwhile, has announced he will contest the upcoming elections in the Letterkenny local electoral area. He will run as an independent. Mr Jordan says his love for politics and Letterkenny has been central to his decision to throw his name into the hat. The RSA and Gardaí are appealing to motorists to slow down and drive carefully this weekend. The Maybank Holiday Road Safety Appeal is being launched today. There will be a visible Garda enforcement presence on the roads across the weekend, targeting people driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Junior Minister for Transport Jack Chambers says this safety appeal is an impactful one.
Bank holiday weekends present a very serious risk for road users. We're trying to again outline to people the devastating and tragic consequences of road fatalities in our country and asking people to talk and have that chat with their family and friends. The new campaign will resemble a death notice that's blank, and that death could occur to you, it could occur to your loved one, it could occur to a close family or friend.
Weather now rather cloudy and wet this morning, but clearing later. Staying cloudy but mostly dry this afternoon, with highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The bank holiday weekend is upon us. Anything could happen. A sneaky weekend getaway? Ice creams and Factor 50 on the beach? Or maybe become a Lotto millionaire? Get your ticket to play Saturday's Lotto and it really could be a bank holiday weekend to remember. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. It's 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 2nd of May, 2024. And we're live for another 9 till Noon Show. How you all keeping out there across the Northwest or wherever you're listening to us from? It's great to have you on board and stick with us. As I say, we have loads of different stuff for you over the 3 hours. Of course, we're going to cover the big issues of the day, but there's plenty of features and bits and bobs of interest for you. So stay on board and stay in touch. WhatsApp and text us on 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApp voice notes can go to that number as well, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And if email is your preferred form of communication, and you can get in touch with us at comments at highlandradio.com. Right, let's look at a busy morning for newspapers. Every Thursday is, starting with the Derry People Donegal News. And Monsignor Kevin Gillespie has said the crimes committed by a former priest of the Diocese of Raphoe have brought shame and caused terrible damage to the lives of his victims. Monsignor Gillespie, who is diocesan administrator for the Diocese of Raphoe, appealed to anyone who may have been abused or may know of any abuse to report it to the relevant authorities. His comments come after former priest Eamon Crossan, who was originally from Letterkenny, was before yesterday's sitting of Letterkenny Circuit Court, where he was convicted for crimes against a minor. Crossan had previously been convicted of sexually abusing another boy in 2021. At yesterday's court hearing, a victim impact statement was read out by the man who was abused by the former priest when the victim was just a boy. Horrific details of the abuse, which lasted over 5 years, were outlined. On to the Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, and the campaign for the local and European elections has finally moved out of first gear this week, with Peter Casey again running for a seat in Europe. There are now 28 candidates confirmed for... Oh, who dropped out? Be interested to hear that. Okay, Caroline Fahey. Okay, I didn't know that. Right, there was 28 in the running as of going to press, but that has now been reduced to 27. It's a massive field for 5 seats, and if you actually were to go down the list 1 to 27, my word, you'd be there all day. But anyway, still a big field, 27. But anyway, reading on. Obviously, after the pass-the-parcel tug-of-war between London and Dublin about the legal status of refugees in recent days, this was the perfect timing that Casey needed to enter the campaign. It has added momentum to what's really been a lacklustre battle, despite 28 candidates contesting for 5 seats in the constituency. 3 weeks ago, Casey told the Tribune that he was not ruling himself out of the EU campaign. I'll consider my options, but I'm not ruling myself out, he said then. Obviously things have moved on since then, and he's now in the field, and it's a cramped field, and it's going to be difficult, I think, for candidates, regardless of their political views, to sort of separate out from maybe 4 or 5 other candidates. I think you could have been could have had a certain approach in the last elections and stood out with certain views, but now with 27 candidates, it's going to be difficult to sort of find your space and to resonate with people. Outside of those who already perhaps have a high profile, maybe they're already at something of an advantage. On to the Derry News, and a second SDLP councillor has resigned in the aftermath of the party's decision to select Lillian Sinoa Barr as Derry and Strabhan's new mayor. Councillor Shauna Cusack tendered her resignation yesterday amid a row over how the SDLP selected Councillor Sinoa Barr to become the first black mayor in the North's history. Councillor Cusack, along with the current Deputy Mayor Jason Barr, were in the running to gain the party's nomination for mayor. However, it emerged over the weekend that Councillor Barr was selected by the party's management committee instead of taking it to a vote amongst the party's 300 members. And unfortunately, Shauna Cusack, in her statement stating that she was resigning from the SDLP, also stated that she won't be speaking to the press at all. which is kind of interesting. It'd be good to hear what she has to say, because I presume she feels I presume, and I'm not having a go at her, I don't know the lady, but I presume she feels that the process was undemocratic. But I think speaking to those that democratically elected you through the means of the press would be useful as well. But anyway, that is her decision, and one which we shall respect, of course. The Irish Times this morning. Ministers are set to consider a further cut in payments. By the way, I'm not obsessed with migration, immigration and all that kind of stuff, by the way, but it's the front of all of the papers, so that's why it's referenced every morning. So apologies if you're tired listening about it. It's not a hobby horse of mine, but I have to reflect what's being reported, and this is seemingly the main story every day. Ministers are set to consider a further cut in payments to Ukrainian refugees and will meet today to discuss the government's communication plan after a tented encampment for asylum seekers in Mount Street was removed yesterday. The first meeting of the reconstituted Cabinet Committee on Migration will be held this afternoon, with ministers due to discuss the government's communication strategy on immigration and receive updates on deportation so far this year. Officials have in recent weeks been further considering the level of financial support offered to Ukrainian refugees. 3 government sources said the topic will most likely be broached in the next meeting of the Cabinet Committee, but that it was a live discussion within the coalition. The issue could create tensions within government, as Green Party sources have expressed reservations about any plan to further cut support to Ukrainian refugees. The Green Party is understood to be sceptical about further cuts to benefits, given the increasing numbers of Ukrainians who are leaving Ireland to return home. So what's happening is that the amount of Ukrainians being supported in accommodation by the government has fallen quite drastically. There is a mixture of those now competing in the private rental sector, those moving to other countries, and some opting to return back to Ukraine. So the pressure on accommodation from Ukrainians is not once what it was, and there are lots of spaces where Ukrainians once were. But I don't see it covered in the paper today, but a comment I thought quite interesting from Roderick O'Gorman yesterday is that now the government is actively reaching out to accommodation providers that provided accommodation for Ukrainians now, and they want to put IPAS, international protection applicants, in that accommodation. So that is what the government is currently working on to relieve the pressure on immigration. Also interesting yesterday, and again I don't see it widely covered here, is Rishi Sunak in the Commons made it quite clear that Britain is not taking back immigrants. That if an immigrant or a person travels through Belfast down into the south, the government here is insisting there is an agreement in place and they're going to use that agreement. Rishi Sunak is very clear and adamant that there is no legal obligation for Britain to take those people back, and he's very, very clear on that. And I thought it quite interesting as well. Another little dig at the Irish government. He said that the Irish government should not be putting checks on the border, in terms of immigration checks. And it's kind of interesting because he flipped the language that was used by the Irish towards the British back on the Irish, in saying that it is up to the Irish government to ensure that there's free movement there's no hard border, which I thought was really quite interesting. But he's quite clear they're not taking them back. In the Irish Independent this morning, rents for sitting tenants are now rising at 3 times the permitted level under rental cap rules. The state body that regulates the rental sector is to probe why this is happening, but it will be the end of the year before it completes its investigation. The suspicion is that landlords are breaching the rules that limit rent rises to no more than 2% a year. Rents for existing tenants rose by 6% in the last 4 months of last year, according to the latest index from the Residential Tenancies Board. Rents for new tenancies shot up by 93% in the last year, despite the fact most of the country is covered by state-mandated rental pressure zones. This is one of the highest percentage increases in rental costs in the last year. The bottom line is, at this point, if you were looking to go into the rental market, it would be as cheap to get a mortgage, but you probably couldn't get that mortgage, if you know what I mean. Like, it has got absolutely crazy rental prices now, and it's not an urban-rural divide. It's right across the board. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and static speed cameras are being rolled out in some of the country's most notorious accident black spots. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris has pledged that the devices will be fully operational by the end of this year and hopes their success will lead to the implementation of 100 additional speed cameras. The 9 static cameras are scattered across the country. One of them is on the Donegal N14 east of Letterkenny. So that's, in other words, at some point, as you depart Letterkenny, presumably, I imagine it's heading in a northward direction once you get to the Manor roundabout, or perhaps it's not. And I don't know precisely what the gap is between the two, but anyway, effectively, you'll get coming out of Letterkenny, for an example, the camera will take a picture or note of your number plate, and then further down the road, how far we don't know, it'll take another note of your number plate, and it will determine how long it would take you to travel between those distances at the speed limit, and if you're under it, you're fine for speeding. So there's going to be 9 of them rolled out, one of them in County Donegal. These cameras will join the new average speed cameras for the N3, the N5 and the N2, which are expected to be operational towards the end of this year. Sorry, maybe they're not. Actually, these are static speed cameras. These aren't average speed cameras. My mistake, actually. Sorry, I misread that. I was reading about this yesterday. I presumed there was going to be average speed cameras on the N4, the N14, but it's not. It seems to be just one singular static camera. So my mistake. Sorry to be misleading. It doesn't look like on that list we are getting sort of average speed cameras. But we'll see more of them down the country, and the explanation stands for where they apply. But it's a static camera that's being erected on the N14 east of Letterkenny. The Irish Farmers Journal this morning, an avalanche of direct payments penalties could be imposed on farmers who exceed their phosphorus allowance for agricultural. The Agricultural Consultants Association has warned up to half of the country's farmers are potentially exposed to phosphorus-related penalties. ACA President Michael Ryan said that, and so much more in that paper today. This is further down the list, but I do the papers in order, not necessarily in order of an importance, because there was an awful tragedy, another awful tragedy on the A5, and the 2 victims of a crash on the A5 are pictured in the papers today. And it's a sad story, but there's layers of sadness to it. One of the 2 young people killed on the A5 on Tuesday night was remembered yesterday as a bubbly, outgoing girl. Camille was a Year 13 pupil at St. Kieran's College, Ballygawley. She died alongside 19-year-old boyfriend Jamie Moore from Omagh, County Tyrone. The single vehicle crash involving a blue BMW car happened on the A5 Duggery Road outside of Omagh at around 9:50pm. Camille had attended a protest by her school the previous evening calling for the A5 to be upgraded. Principal Paul Lavery paid tribute to the 17-year-old who had stood alongside hundreds of pupils at the school calling for change. And we know, unfortunately, the terrible loss of life, much of it preventable, on that terrible road, the A5. And just the day before, young Camille had been at a school protest calling for the upgrade works to be begun as quickly as possible. I think, that we're coming to a period of time whereby, for many people listening, that your young people will be doing their leaving cert and finishing school, and there's a rite of passage there and what have you. And also many of them will decide to go away. It's a bit of a tradition for some, head abroad. But unfortunately, we know that sometimes this can end in very tragic circumstances. So there's a government safety campaign, and I think it's really worthwhile just to inform everyone of the potential dangers of going abroad after your leaving cert results. It can be done, of course, and it can be done safely, and the vast majority will have a great time and come home safely. But too many don't, and that's really, I think, why this is such an important campaign. But the deaths of 2 Dublin classmates in Greece has inspired a government safety campaign targeting leaving cert holidays. Andrew O'Donnell and Max Wall, both 18 and from St. Michael's College, died hours apart in separate instances on the island of Ios. It is thought Andrew suffered a fall while taking a shortcut back to his accommodation. Max collapsed from a heart condition. Yesterday, the government launched a Travel Wise as part of their annual Be Summer Ready call. Taoiseach Micheál Martin said, I was very taken by the deaths last year, and in previous years I asked the Department of Foreign Affairs at a number of management meetings to focus on something very specific this year to alert young people to the risks. And it's something we'll talk about on this show at a later date as well. Sometimes when you're on holidays for the first time, you come across things that you're not used to. You know, we often hear of tragedies involving balconies and falls from cliffs and what have you. So it's just misadventure, and it's best that they have all of the knowledge heading out to best protect themselves. And finally, if you're a dog owner, not to alarm you, but just to alert you, dog owners have been warned about Alabama rot as cases of the flesh-eating disease continue to spike across Britain, with locations across the country at risk. Alabama rot damages the blood vessels in a dog's skin and kidneys. It causes visible sores on the skin and can lead to severe organ dysfunction and ultimately kidney failure. The rare disease has led to the deaths of 318 dogs in Britain since 2012, with 10 dogs so far this year dying. A number of cases were recorded in Ireland in 2018 after a similar outbreak across the Irish Sea. Infections were reported in the north in 2020. So as I say, no reports of it yet here in Ireland. If you're a dog owner, maybe it's socialising with the dog that's come back from Britain, to keep your eye out there.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra and Diner, Mountaintop Letterkenny, winner of Best Family Dining at the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards.
Last few places remaining for Brian Adams on Tuesday, 21st of May at the 3 Arena in Dublin. Make sure you don't miss out and contact Highland Radio today on 074 91 25000 or book through the outlet at highlandradio.com.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment, all have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McIlhenny and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McIlhenny and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
To celebrate Europe Day and Poland's 20-year membership of the EU, the Central Library in Letterkenny are hosting a free event celebrating Polish culture on Tuesday the 7th of May from 11 a.m. There will be a traditional welcome with bread and salt, traditional dress on show and an opportunity to hear some beautiful music. There will be an exhibition of Polish symbols, flags, a coat of arms, emblem, posters, a 3D map of Poland, photography, poppy, flowers, smaller artifacts and samples of Polish folklore. There will also be Polish cakes and pastries for the occasion. So why not come along and have some fun?
Join us this Bank Holiday Monday at 7 p.m. for episode 2 of Active Donegal on Highland Radio. We look at how sport is feeding into communities of the county and how physical activity is being encouraged. In programme 2, we focus on women in sport. We hear from Sport Ireland's Nora Stapleton and Maggie Farley of the Donegal Sports Partnership. We went out and about to the Women's Only Adventure Challenge, a self-defence class, and the Sunrise Dip, which started International Women's Day. That's on Active Donegal this Bank Holiday Monday at 7 p.m. Produced by Highland Radio and funded by Commission na Man with a television licence fee.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. And our first guest today is a very grateful and relieved Celine McGlynn, who's the editor of the Finn Valley Voice and also a writer as well. Good morning to you, Celine.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm getting better, yeah.
Have you
Things are starting to improve.
You have the leg up, I hope.
I have the leg up and can't put any weight on it now for a few weeks.
And we're going to go back as to why that happened, because you, like so many others, decided to take a walk. For you, it was Sunday week last. What was your experience and how did the story unfold, Celine?
Yeah, well, Bartley and myself were here in the house, and our daughter, Maeve, and her partner, Will, were here as well. And if you remember, that Sunday was maybe the nicest day that came this year. It was absolutely beautiful. And we often go to Slieve League. And I've been going to Slieve League since I was a child. My father used to take us there, on Sunday drives. And just as a very special place for us. And Maeve and Will love hiking as well. And we had a perfect day for Slieve League. So we headed off anyway. And we went up the Pilgrim's Path. Stunning views, beautiful, beautiful day, great altogether. And Bartley and I stopped around the 500 metres up, and Will and Maeve went on and did the one man's pass. And I have no interest in the one man's pass. It's a bit scary for me, so we didn't even attempt that. So we did, and then we were actually on our way back down again when I just, on quite level terrain, my foot slipped on wet grass and I went down about 8-10 inches, and I knew at once that there was damage done. And so Bartley and Maeve and Will got me lying down anyway, and put coats and everything over me, and they sort of got into action, called 999, and it was amazing to actually be there and to be aware of all the phone calls and how many people were involved in caring what happened to someone who had fallen on Slieve League. It's just an amazing service, and and not just Rescue 118, who were like heroes to me when I saw them coming, but Donegal Mountain Rescue were also on their way up, and the Killybegs Coast Guard team, and there was an ambulance crew also there. And I was thinking, so many people on this beautiful Sunday are here doing this, to help someone who has fallen. And when the team arrived, Rescue 118, never have I been so happy to see that helicopter come into view, because where we live in Drumbo, Bartley and I often watch Rescue 118 as it crosses over on missions. And Gavin Plale, who was part of the team that day, winch operator, we know Gavin, and I've often spoken to Gavin, I just love to see the inside of it, and obviously maybe right about it. No, this is not what I had intended.
Yeah.
And as I said to him, well, I only saw the roof, so I still have to see it. But they allowed Maeve on the craft, and I asked Maeve to record it as well, because that maybe I could write about it. But
and what happens in that situation, Celine? Can the helicopter land? Is there a place it can land close by, or do you get winched up? Or
well, they actually have to see if they can land or not. Where I was, fortunately, they were able to land, so that I can't remember how far it was, but it was only a few minutes from I was put on the stretcher until I was actually in the helicopter. So they were able to land. Had they not been able to land, they would have to winch you up on a stretcher, which is very dangerous, they were telling me. Mm-hmm. To actually have to do that as well. Dangerous for the person who has fallen and for themselves.
Yeah.
So they just do amazing work.
So how long from the initial call would you say it was before you were actually in the helicopter?
I was on the ground for about an hour and a half, I think. Say, from I fell until I was in there. I went into the aircraft at Gavin told me 6:58. 6:58, and I was in then Letterkenny at 7:18, and it happened around 5, give or take.
Wow, so that was really, really quick when you think about it. And what was your emotions at that time, Celine? Because I've spoken to people before in these situations, and they are so grateful. But at the time, they're like, "Oh my word, this is embarrassing! Such a fuss. I slipped over." Were you able to sort of embrace it and let them do the work, or were you a wee bit embarrassed by the situation?
I might have been embarrassed if I had fell off a stool on my kitchen, but where I fell, and you could easily do what I did, in your own kitchen.
I get you, of course.
But where I fell was so beautiful, like the view that I had of the sea, and I was able to look at that for all that time, and I had Bartley and Maeve and Will obviously there, encouraging and making sure I was okay. And it did feel a bit, like maybe it's shock or something, but I just felt very trembly inside every so often. But there was because I always believe you can't live your life backwards. I couldn't undo it.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't unbreak my leg. So I just had to deal with what was in front.
There's very experienced people in Letterkenny University Hospital that can effectively unbreak your leg, i.e. set it and cast it and what have you. And you were full of praise too for your experience once you were taken to the hospital.
Yeah, and we know how under pressure they are. We know how difficult it is. And the emergency department was, they told me, relatively quiet that night. It still seemed hugely busy to me, and there were still people, sitting very close together, but they were doing their best. I was on a little trolley till the morning when I finally got to bed then. But I was comfortable. I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you knew you were somewhere safe.
Yeah,
okay.
And it was it's like, Greg, there you have a theoretical idea of course, we're grateful for the Coast Guard helicopters. We're grateful to Rescue 118. But when you're actually in that situation, it feels completely different. And they're so professional, and they know what they're doing, and they do all the right things. And and they're just very warm and friendly as well. They really, really were. I could not thank them enough.
Okay.
Actually, thank you really isn't enough. You just think it's not enough.
And such was the extent of...
It gave me...
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Celine, sorry.
No, I was chatting to Maeve and Bartley and Wool, and could we have done anything different? Could we have been safer? Could we? Because we'd all be fairly experienced and that we would know what to do. And I was thinking, wear something really bright as well so that you can be easily spotted.
Yeah. Because
I had on a navy jacket, which wasn't a great choice, in hindsight. And but Bartley had on his Celtic top, and that was seen, so that they once they come once they're flying around, they need to be able to see you. Yeah. And the fact that it was a really good day, if it had been a bad day, it would have been a worse situation, and you could get very, very cold. And when I was in the operating theatre, one of the nurses says, she says, yeah, you think that's, because I was thinking it's only a broken leg, and it's not that serious. But she says, on a mountain, you could die with that.
Yeah. No, for sure, definitely.
Yeah. And I actually maybe didn't realise that either until she said it.
I get you. Well, listen, I'm glad that you... and listen, the reason why we were so keen to speak to you as well, Celine, was just to recognise the great work that the crew of the Rescue 118 and the other emergency responders, the Killybegs Coast Guard team, Donegal Mountain Rescue, many of them volunteers, some of them not, but all ready to come to...
They deserve so much support.
Okay.
They deserve whatever fundraising people can do. I mean, they are the heroes, really.
Okay. Well,
listen,
I hope you're back on your feet in the appropriate time scales, and we really appreciate you joining us and helping us tell the story. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's Celine.
Birthday,
Thank you so much, Celine. I appreciate it.
Have a great year.
Okay, thank you. That's Celine McGlynn, editor of the Finn Valley Voice and also a writer as well, talking of her experience last Sunday week where she slipped and hurt her ankle, and is just so pleased so pleased and grateful and thankful to those who responded to it. We're going to be talking about vampire facials next.
For quality plants grown in Donegal at great value prices, visit Alcorns and Letterkenny, where you will be thrilled by the great range of bedding, roses, fruit, shrubs and fabulous topiary specimen ornamentals, and of course all the plant care, potting and maintenance products you will ever need. Alcorns, where great gardens begin.
Payment penalties time bomb. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out why an avalanche of payment penalties could hit farmers buying fertiliser. Calls for TAM's payments to be fast-tracked. We reveal all the details of the new forestry compensation scheme. We profile the spiralling cost of controlling TB. Everything you need to plan for the summer show season in our comprehensive pullout. Plus our guide to the new low-cost loans to retrofit your house.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Mark James Menswear Strabane celebrate 20 years in business. Join the celebrations with 20% of all stock. Elevate your style as we mark this milestone. 20% off starts Friday 3rd of May at Mark James Menswear Strabane.
Is your business or farm having difficulty getting a loan or restructuring bank debt? The good news is there's something you can do about it. For over 10 years, Credit Review has helped Irish SMEs by appealing unfavourable credit decisions. For more information, visit creditreview.ie. Credit Review is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Donegal County Council invite the public to participate in the first non-statutory public consultation for the Carrigans to Lifford Greenway. 2 public consultation events to inform the public of the project and to invite feedback will be held at St Johnston and Carrigans Family Resource Centre. St Johnston on the 1st of May from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. and at the Old Courthouse Lifford on the 2nd of May from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. Visit the project's dedicated website carrigansliffordgreenway.ie for more information.
Okay, Dr. Farah Maiden is a GP and an aesthetics consultant and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me back.
And the documentation I have in front of us is about vampire facials. Is that the preferred or given name, or is that just sort of how it has come to be described?
Yeah, I think it's come to be described since Kim Kardashian started getting those treatments. Essentially what is actually known as is PRP, plasma-rich protein, PRP facials or injections.
What actually happens in this process? I've saw some images of it and it seems quite scary, but that could just have been the images that were presented to me. So, but what happens in the process of a vampire facial?
So essentially what happens is we take the person's blood. We take it like we would a normal blood test. It's collected into a vial and it's placed into a closed centrifuge where we spin the blood to separate the good proteins from the red blood cells. And then it is drawn back out using a sterile needle and syringe and either reapplied into the skin, either using microneedling or injected directly into the skin or scalp.
Okay, and does it cause any bleeding or pricking or marks in the first instance?
Generally, if it's injected directly into your skin, you will have tiny little blebs in your skin that will go down in about 15-20 minutes. If you hit the small vessel, you could have a tiny bit of bruising, but essentially it's not very gory at all. However, if it depends on the method you use with microneedling, it can seem quite bloody, but generally that's not the way it should look.
And what are the promised benefits of it?
So it's beneficial in lots of different ways. It can be injected into the scalp to promote hair growth. So the idea behind it is that when we centrifuge the blood, we get out the good plasma from it, that's full of growth factors and all the good stuff that will kind of drive your the cellular renewal and help with hair stimulation or skin regeneration.
Now, we have seen in the past, say, for instance, with Botox, and we've talked about these things in the past as well, whereby, there are people who are licensed to do it or they have a medical background, it's okay for them to do it, and then others that sort of do it as well, really. And we've warned of the risks of maybe going to someone with not the right background or the right qualifications or the right clearance to do it. Is it the same with vampire facials?
So this is a bit tricky because the vampire facials, essentially all you need is someone who has phlebotomy experience. So phlebotomy is where you get training to take blood. And then because it is not a prescription product, it does not have to be a doctor or a nurse to inject it into the skin. Saying that, we as medics or clinicians are kind of really, it's our basic principles to maintain, to reduce infection control, like essentially to do it in an aseptic, sterile way. Whereas someone without that background might not necessarily have that, background or instinct to do it.
And this brings us on to recent media reports of at least 3 women who were infected with HIV during so-called vampire facial procedures. This was actually, as it turns out, at an unlicensed spa in New Mexico. I mean, it must be incredibly rare if the media coverage is sort of going to New Mexico to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's really not heard of in clinics to have that sort of outcome where someone is being infected by another person, purely because we'd never reuse syringes, we'd never reuse needles, we'd use a closed system to spin your blood. There's no way of getting confused between whose blood is whose. It's extremely unfortunate that happened in New Mexico. I mean, it's a simple thing that can just change someone's lives. It's awful. If, say, for example, I took blood from someone who is injected with who has HIV, and I reuse that needle, that's going to have blood particles of the infected patient in it. And then when I reintroduce that into the blood system of somebody who does not have HIV, that's how it happened. And that is just, it's just tragic.
Caller wants to know, is PRP treatment suitable for older people in, say, for instance, their 70s and 80s with thinning hair?
70s and 80s, yes. I mean, it is suitable. There's no real cutoff point. But essentially, if you're well and you're not on too many medications, it's your own blood quality. So it depends on how much good protein you have in your system. It's not a no-no. It's something that we'd need to discuss and speak to the individual about.
Most clients, I don't know, can PRP sort of reverse the signs of aging, for an example, or do most people employ this to sort of maintain their youthful looks, or their looks as youthful as they are at the time of the procedure?
Yeah, it's quite popular for use with hair regrowth. It's also very good for skin rejuvenation, especially around the eye area. The eye area is quite delicate, and there's not a lot of treatments that can be effective around the eyes because of the thin skin, and just, we can't use a lot of heavy products around the eyes. So it's good for, improving the skin texture, the skin tone, the skin quality of the skin as well.
All right, okay. Well, I think people can be assured, certainly, that it's safe. It's just up to them whether or not they're interested. If they want more information, you're with the Medical Skin Clinic, and they have clients across the Northwest, and people can find that information out and get in contact with you, I'm sure, if they wish to. But for now, Dr. Farah Myden, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Greg.
Take care. If you've had an experience of that, let us know. 08660 25,000. Some of your comments coming in, and by the way, please keep them coming in to us. Very important. Kilmacrennan Village needs a speed camera. The speeds going through the town are ridiculous. People cannot get out at the crossroads in the centre of the town, and it needs addressing. Are we going to wait until someone is killed before something is done about it? Surely, with an election around the corner, one of the candidates could actively do something about it. It is a dangerous cross junction, that. And it's particularly dangerous too because it is used for families to access shops and what have you, but also for younger ones to access school. And people come down the hill from Letterkenny flying, and people start accelerating too as they approach that junction, heading towards Letterkenny. And we've seen also cars coming in from the Milford direction that have been involved in collisions there as well. What needs to be done there with a static speed cameras would guarantee everyone going slow at a junction like that. You know, these speed vans pop up here and there and everywhere, but I think that would be, you could make a really strong argument for a crossroads like that to have a static speed camera that would ensure that everyone drives slowly. But they don't seem to be the weapon of choice from An Garda Síochána HQ, it would seem. All right, thank you for that, though. I appreciate it. Vinny and Marty, they've got their podcast, of course, the V&M podcast, and chatting about fibs just towards the end of the programme yesterday. Apparently Martin doesn't let his children watch the Late Late Choice show because it's on late and past their bedtime, so rather shrewdly, he puts on last year's Late Late and tells them it's this year's one. Brilliant. Okay, so they're all wanting toys that are a year out of date. I like it. That came in off the back of some fibs we've been told as younger people. I was talking about how there has been a trend where parents, when the ice cream van music is on, that is when you're it's out of ice cream, you know what I mean, because they don't want the hassle and all that kind of stuff. And there's been other little fibs that people were told as children. Keep them coming to us as well. What did your parents say to you as fibs? Picking your nose and eating it would give you worms was one I heard too when I was younger. Have you any more like that? Let us know. 08660 25,000. Right, we're going to try and figure out what's happening with the SDLP in Derry and Strabane with Pat McCart after these.
The blockbuster production of Wicked returns to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre Dublin, featuring Oscar and Grammy Award-winning music. Highland Radio are not missing out. Join us on Friday, the 9th of August, as we take part in the magic. Your place includes luxury transfers, overnight stay in the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin, and your ticket to the show. Call us today on 074 91 25,000 or book your place through the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Refresh your shoe wardrobe with the latest arrivals from Green Shoes, bringing you the latest styles from top brands such as Riker, Birkenstock and Wonders. Also, New Balance, Bugatti, XTA and many more. Step into style this season with Green Shoes, Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and Fulcara, or at greenshoes.com. One for all and Shop LK cards accepted.
Introducing Super Value's new Real Rewards prices. Scan your card or app and get Pringles selected range was $3.49, now only $1.50. And Coca-Cola 18-pack cans was €18, now only €10. Don't forget, our amazing lower prices are exclusive to Real Rewards members. So start making real savings at Super Value. Deposit return scheme applies.
Donegal Pro-Life, supporting March for Life. This bank holiday Monday, the 6th of May in Dublin at 2 p.m. For details to book our sponsored bus to Dublin, contact Margaret at Donegal Pro-Life at 089 246 9599 or Brian in Buncrana on 087 291 3186.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McIlhenny's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McIlhenny's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McIlhenny's Ballybuffet.
Rather cloudy and wet this morning with bands of rain drifting across the region, but they'll quickly clear away later this morning, staying cloudy but mostly dry this afternoon and rather muggy too. Temperatures 15 to 18 degrees. We've got this strange weather pattern whereby it's like 8 or 9 degrees in the south and much double that in the north. Right, Pat McCart's an author and former editor of the Derry Journal, amongst other publications and media outlets. Good morning to you, Pat. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good. We wanted to chat to you off the news that 2 councillors have now quit the SDLP after claiming they were denied the chance to be selected by party members to become Derry and Strabane Mayor. Shauna Cusack, who has represented the Fallside area since 2013, resigned her SDLP membership yesterday. It follows the resignation of the SDLP, from the SDLP, of another councillor. We spoke to him, of course, that's Sperrin representative Jason Barr. Both councillors say they had been due to stand alongside side councillor Lillian Snow-Barr at an internal party selection convention on Monday night to name the SDLP's choice for Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council. But there was an interview process, apparently, and after that process, the party decided to put only one name forward, and that was Councillor Lillian Barr. It's a mess for the SDLP, isn't it? This how this has been handled?
Yeah, I think at the start they were they were going out. Here we are. We're making history. A very, very positive story. Lillian Snow-Barr came as a refugee to Derry about 15 years ago. She set up the Northwest Migrant Forum. She's been very much the fore. She joined the SDLP, big supporter of Hume, what John Hume stood for, and all the rest of it. And this, you can imagine how this is playing, that it's brilliant. And she was making history. She was the first black person to be a mayor anywhere in Northern Ireland. I think there's only 2 others, I think, in all of Ireland. And, she's been, Lillian is a very go-ahead person. By the way, I should declare a wee bit of an interest here. I was Lillian's sort of director of election when she first stood for the SDLP back in, I think it's 2019, and so on. But anyway, the SDLP, I think they thought this was a positive story all the way around. But they do seem to have totally mishandled it, Greg. I mean, mishandled it big time. There was supposed to be a meeting. As far as I'm aware, there were their management committee had some sort of preliminary interviews with the 3 candidates. There was supposed to be a meeting on a Monday night where they were all going to set out their stall and to the 300 members who would then, they were, as far as I'm aware, they were allowed to canvass the 300 members. The headquarters in Belfast sent out email addresses for them so that people could, do all they want to do, sort of why you should vote for me. Anyway, the management committee didn't put it to a vote. We're supposed the meeting, rather, I think the candidates were told the meeting was postponed. It was cancelled, and the management committee came forward and said, "There's only going to be one candidate. Your names are not even going forward." It is a terrible slap in the teeth.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, Greg.
I was going to say, Pat, I'm not sure anyone comes out of this as a winner either, because if the process had been gone through and Lillian had been selected by party members, I just feel the way it's been done now, it's taken away from that historic achievement in inverted commas, and it does make it look like, and I'm not suggesting it's the case, it does make it look like that they saw an opportunity to make history, and maybe Lillian was selected for that reason and not necessarily because she was the best of the 3 candidates. Now, I'm not suggesting that for a second. I'm just saying that's how it looks, and it perhaps will tarnish. And then, of course, as well, because that's thrown into the mix, she has made quite controversial comments about people protesting, referencing at least some of them as terrorists, and that's brought those people out as well to pile on to Ms. Barr. So really, there's no winners in this, Pat, at all. It's been handled once again. The political parties, for some reason, handled something terribly wrong.
Yeah, Greg, I've seen some of the comments on social media, and I know what you're referencing. I saw one guy who, in fairness, a reasonable guy, said it seemed like a bit of virtue signalling by the SDLP that we're putting forward this sort of black mayor, and they were so anxious to do it. And by the way, Lillian could well have come out top
exactly
anyway in the
selection
process. Yeah. So you're 100% right, Greg. It's handled very badly. But here's the thing: Shauna Cusack has been a representative for 11 years, very, very highly thought of, very well liked, etc., etc. Jason Barr, as far as I remember, is now currently the deputy mayor. And when you think about it, in your own hometown, you're sort of like it's a terrible humiliation, slap in the teeth, to be told you're not even considered for a discussion about to be the mayor, that you're actually just been overlooked. And you can understand why somebody who's been a public representative for 11 years would say, wait a minute, if I'm good enough to be a public representative, why am I not good enough to be mayor? And you sort of just go, Greg, who under God in the background made this sort of decision? The local democracy it's just gone out the window. It's almost as if somebody was parachuted in over the heads of other people for a variety of reasons, but local democracy has sort of been just jettisoned at the same time.
And if this was a new policy that was now going to be introduced across all the districts, maybe then there's an argument to say that they wanted to go in a different direction. But this is not the case. This seemed to be a very specific way of doing something for this very specific job. And because they also had the interview process, it effectively looks like that Councillor Cusack and Councillor Jason Barr weren't up to the position of mayor. They weren't even good enough to go amongst the...
When you think on it, Greg, there's 300 members, and if democracy was really working, the members would make a decision. And the SDLP has always prided itself as being a party of democracy. So in other words, they're now saying the votes of the ordinary members don't count. The management committee makes the decision. But look at the other side of the story, Greg. I think, if I remember correctly, there's 40 members of Derry and Strabane District Council, 9 of whom are the SDLP. They've now lost 2. That's a big loss. Greg, I remember in my other life, when I was out of the Derry Journal many years ago, as far as I remember, there was 29 members of Derry City Council, 15 of whom were SDLP. They had an overall majority. So right now, with only 9 members and a 40-seat council and losing 2 now, I presume Shauna Cusack has made it very clear that the SDLP is their political home, and I presume they'll probably vote with the SDLP. But still, losing 2 councillors like this is not a good look. And the other thing as well, Greg, there's an election coming up next year where Colm Eastwood is the sitting MP. He's the SDLP leader, and he's the Foyle MP. He won by 15,000 votes. If people start peeling away from the SDLP and because of things like this, and the Sinn Féin get their act together and get a very good candidate, well, I'd wonder how confident Colm will feel.
It was a mind-boggling decision, particularly particularly at this time. And as I say, I have no doubt, as elected by the people, that the new mayor will be popular and has the support, of course, and the good wishes of Councillor Cusack and Councillor Jason Barr. But again, it's always going to be tarnished as if an appointment rather than an election. And it, as I say, it doesn't do anyone any favours. Interesting.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 councillors were not deemed worthy this year. Now, let's get this on the record, Greg, and I'm just repeating what you said. Lillian Barr is a very capable woman. She's very effective. She's a hard worker. She will, and by the way, I think both Councillor Barr and Cusack have both said this is not about Lillian. In fact, they said they urge people to support her. They have nothing but respect for her, and they've made this clear. But the procedure and the way it was handled, and absolutely, Greg, they have a real strong case. It does seem to be cack-handed the way this was done.
It's almost the
very
parties
offensive
making
to the 2 people concerned.
The 3 councillors are actually completely not innocent, you know what I mean? This is all of the party's own doing. It's created this itself. Remarkable. As always, Pat, thank you so very, very much indeed. Lovely to talk to you. That is Pat McCart there, author, former editor of the Derry Journal. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Another busy 2 hours on the way. Stay right where you are as we take a break now for the news and obituary notices.
Now that the evenings are longer, there's loads of great ideas for outdoor fun at Tinny's Toys. Trampolines, climbing frames, slides and swings. Also, pedal and battery ride-on tractors, cars and jeeps. Tinny's Toys, Let Road, Letterkenny, and at tinnystoys.com.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Get summer garden ready with Homeland Letterkenny at their Garden Super Saturday this Saturday, 4th of May. Meet the Garden Centre team and enjoy exclusive offers including Homeland Peat Reduced Multi-Purpose Compost, buy 2 get 1 free. Bedding plants, buy 3 for €10 and buy 2 get 1 free in all shrubs. For all this and more, see homeland.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council are carrying out septic tank inspections across the county and would like to remind homeowners to check the condition of their wastewater treatment systems for signs of sewage overflows, blockages, pools of effluent on lawns or in nearby ditches and streams. Direct all soiled water from sinks, showers, dishwashers and washing machines to the septic tank, but not rainwater. And if it hasn't been emptied for the last few years, please get it cleaned out by a permitted contractor who will dispose of it properly. Further details on how to protect your health and environment are on our website, donegalcoco.ie. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Cabinet Subcommittee on Migration is to meet today, where it will hear updates on efforts to process asylum applications quicker. It will also discuss deportations in the event of applications being rejected. Andrew Lyth reports.
Today's meeting of the subcommittee comes off the back of a lot of criticism for the government's immigration policies over the last week. As well as updates, it will look to find ways to alleviate the issue, including finding more accommodation for international protection applicants. It comes after the Taoiseach told a meeting of the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party that communication needs to improve on all fronts. Speaking of Micheál Martin, he told the UK's Northern Ireland Secretary that Gardaí will not police the border. However, Chris Heaton-Harris reiterated that the UK will not be taking back migrants who arrive here from the north. It's after the government said it would draft emergency legislation to designate the UK as a safe country.
A second Derry City and Strabane District Councillor has announced they are resigning from the SDLP. It's as the fallout over the selection of Councillor Lillian Sinoy Barr as the next Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council continues. Earlier this week, Strabane Councillor Jason Barr stepped back from the SDLP as he believed the selection process to put forward Councillor Sinoy Barr was undemocratic. Councillor Shauna Cusack has to announce her resignation from the SDLP, as she says to remain would be to acquiesce in the denial of local democracy. Councillor Cusack has appealed to people to welcome Councillor Sinoy Barr as the new mayor and to reject and condemn any ugly, racist or hurtful language being used. A Donegal councillor believes a process needs to be introduced to instil a duty of care on council house tenants that they keep the property in a decent condition and do not engage in antisocial behaviour. Councillor Michael McBride says in some areas fellow residents are living in fear due to incidents of antisocial behaviour. He is calling for a representative of Donegal County Council and a member of Garda Síochána to be appointed to monitor council tenants. Councillor McBride says there must be some level of enforcement.
For people who are living in the neighbourhood, within a few doors of people that are acting antisocially, it's totally unacceptable. I think the people gathering rubbish or dumping rubbish out in their gardens and stuff like that is another big problem. And, it brings rodents in around houses and all that type of stuff. So, look, I just think it's something that has to be dealt with. I don't think we can, just kind of have a laissez-faire attitude to it.
Donegal councillor Jerry Crawford has reconsidered his decision to retire from politics and will now contest the upcoming local elections. Councillor Crawford, an elected member of Donegal County Council since 1999 in the Lifford-Stranorna Municipal District, announced a number of weeks ago that he would not be seeking re-election. He says now on reflection he was not fully happy with his decision, and he says he is keen to see the projects that he has been working on over the last number of years be delivered. Letterkenny man Declan Jordan, meanwhile, has announced he will contest the upcoming elections in the Letterkenny local electoral area. He will run as an independent. Mr Jordan says his love for politics and Letterkenny has been central to his decision to throw his name into the hat. The RSA and Gardaí are appealing to motorists to slow down and drive carefully this weekend. The Maybank Holiday Road Safety Appeal is being launched today. There will be a visible Garda enforcement presence on the roads across the weekend, targeting people driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Junior Minister for Transport Jack Chambers says this safety appeal is an impactful one.
Bank holiday weekends present a very serious risk for road users. We're trying to again outline to people the devastating and tragic consequences of road fatalities in our country and asking people to talk and have that chat with their family and friends. The new campaign will resemble a death notice that's blank, and that death could occur to you, it could occur to your loved one, it could occur to a close family or friend.
Weather now rather cloudy and wet this morning, but clearing later. Staying cloudy but mostly dry this afternoon, with highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice is for this Thursday morning, May the 2nd. The death has occurred of Bernard O'Donnell, Cook, Armore Island. Bernard's remains will be donated to medical research at the Royal College of Surgeons, Dublin. A memorial mass will take place in Armore, with arrangements to follow. The death has taken place of Mary Fleming, Portnaling, Fanage. Remains will arrive at St Mary's Church, Fanavolti at 5 o'clock this evening to repose overnight. Those who wish to pay their respects can do so between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Requiem Mass tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, with burial afterwards in Fanavolti Graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Patsy Canning, Greenford, Portsalon, Donegal. A wake will be held at Patsy's late residence, Greenford, Portsalon, from 12 noon today. Requiem Mass will be held at St Columbus Church, Massmount, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass will be live streamed on the McAteer Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Coronary Care Unit at Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of James Douglas Boa Malin. James's remains are reposing at his home. Family time from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Funeral from there at 20 past 10 tomorrow morning for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Patrick's Church, Clay, with burial afterwards in Lag Graveyard. Family flowers only, please. And the death has occurred of Tony Duffy, Ardglass, Portsalon, Fanad, and formerly Leixlip, London, Corby and Glasgow, reposing at the home of his nephew Richard Duffy in Ahadahley, Portsalon, Fanad. Requiem Mass will be held at St Columbus Church, Massmount, this morning at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass will be live streamed on the McAteer Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Oncology Ward at Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Londis can't promise good weather this Maybank holiday weekend, but we can promise good value. Choose a tasty pizza from our selected Chicago 10 thin and crispy pizza range. Get a pack of Green Isle wedges and a pack of onion rings, all for an incredible €6.99. Get any 2 packs from the O'Donnell's crisps range for just €3.50. And Budweiser or Carlsberg 8-pack cans are only €13.57, plus €1.20 deposit. At Londis, we know what locals want, because we're local, like you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
And now, IMRO's 2023 Best Local or Regional News Programme, The Voice of the Northwest, the 9 till noon show with Greg Hughes.
It's good to have you back on the programme. Thank you so much for joining us. Just want to let you know there's a coffee morning in aid of the Special Olympics. It's being held in the Parish Centre, Stranraer. It's behind the chapel. It's this morning. It's just kicked off, in fact, till 12:30. Hopefully they have us on in the background. Hello, everyone, if we are there. If we're not... I would like to just say a big thank you to Highland Radio and to Duffy's Circus. I had told my young son, who has an intellectual disability, that we would be going to the circus tonight. Silly me, forgot to book the tickets until the last minute, and when I went to book them, they had all sold out. Anyone who has a child with special needs know how much routines affect them, and being told that he was going to the circus and then pulling out would have been very upsetting for my son. I got in contact with Highland Radio and they contacted Duffy's for me and were able to secure me a ticket for myself and my son with the kindness from Duffy's. Ask and you shall receive. Thank you both. You saved a lot of upset in our house. That's lovely. Hopefully enjoy it if that is tonight. I don't know if that came in this morning or yesterday, but anyway, if it is tonight, enjoy it. Static speed camera going to be on the Manor Road from Manor to Lifford, where it should be on the Manor to Bridgend Road. Yeah, okay. There's been over 25 people killed on the Manor to Bridgend Road. Surely that is enough of a static statistic, to get a permanent camera, added the listener there. Hi, Greg. If you don't have children, you have to stand on the terrace. This is football matches. If you don't have children, you have to stand on the terrace for 3 hours for the Ulster final, even if you're a pensioner who's been following Donegal or Armagh for 60 years or have a medical condition that prevents you from standing for 3 hours. Please note, this is coming from Ulster GEA, not Donegal or Armagh. We have been notified that the Pat McGrain Eastern Stand and O'Duffy Terrace have been reserved for families. Adults and students must go to the hill. No juveniles allowed on the hill. While we'll try to facilitate all orders as requested, we cannot guarantee what stand terrace you will be allocated. Okay, so, I mean, it is a long stand, isn't it? How one goes around that, I don't know, to accommodate everyone fairly. It's tough. It's not a problem I'd like to be resolving, but that's a listener there that believes it is unfair. Just a comment, re the community first response groups that are emerging was to commend the effort and enthusiasm of these volunteers and see what they are being proactive and solution focused to address the appalling lack of emergency services in Shown. I do not feel this is the role of volunteers and will only be left to them and more expected of them as they develop. The alternative, in my opinion, is a review of the National Ambulance Service. It's ridiculous ambulances cannot leave the ED until their patient has a trolley. This can be hours upon hours at times. They're basically waiting on their trolley back for the ambulance as they cannot administer pain relief, etc., or carry out clinical observations. They call nursing staff if these are needed, from what I've seen. This means these services are off the road. No wonder we're waiting hours for an ambulance, says the listener. I recently waited 2 hours on one. We pay enough tax, local community hospitals, on nursing homes and day centres. This needs looked at. We know we need more community-based older people's homes. Keep hospitals as hospitals. They're delivering less and less services rather than developing, i.e. no maternity services anymore, all scans in LUH, no minor injury services. Our health system overall needs a serious overview. That's from a listener, and I get much of what you're saying. I do believe we employ our ambulance services here is administered the same as it is in an urban area, and we're a sprawling rural region, and maybe it needs to be looked at. That being said, just as it relates to the first response groups, these are individuals that are not there in replacement of the health service, and I think even if ambulance times were reduced much greater than they are, reduced much less than they are, probably I should say, I think they play a pivotal role, the community volunteers, in getting there first and administering immediate care where it's needed. So I think they do a fantastic job, and I think we need more of them, and I think they're amazing. That doesn't take away from your wider point that, yes, indeed, of course, we need to look at how we administer health in this country. I think most people would agree. Right, okay, I'm going to take a short break so you can play bingo, because it is jackpot day. Hopefully, fingers crossed, someone's going to win a fortune.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 2nd of May, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €10,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 18. The jackpot number is 37. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 19, 66, 17, 82, 72, 20, 10, 83, 27, and finally 32. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The Balmoral Show is back and bigger than ever. Come and join farmers, foodies and families for 4 fun-filled days at the Icon Exhibition Centre Lisburn from the 15th to the 18th of May. With sheepdog displays, a new children's area and delicious local food and drink, the big show has something for everyone. Don't miss the agri-food event of the year. Come and join the fun at the Balmoral Show, sponsored by Ulster Bank, from the 15th to the 18th of May. Book your tickets online now at balmoralshow.co.uk. See you at the show.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 12-page Punchestown Festival pullout, with all the top tipsters in our stable ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Susan Hill's spine-chilling ghost story, The Woman in Black. Thrilling audiences in London's West End for over 30 years. Book now, if you dare.
The Woman in Black, coming to Derry from the 21st to the 25th of May. Get tickets now, millenniumforum.co.uk.
Now it's time for our regular Thursday feature, Your Voice, Your Community. And we're going to focus on elements of fishing. Hugely important to County Donegal. Very important part of our community, the fishing community. Dominic Ryan is the new Chief Executive Officer of the Keelebegs Fishermen's Organisation. And Dominic, I believe this is the first time I've spoken to you. Obviously, I've spoken to your predecessor on many occasions, but you're very welcome onto the programme, and it's lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Greg. Actually, you have spoken to me in my previous career when I was working for BIM.
I'm not counting that. I'm not counting Bodie Skiwara. Come here. Why did you decide to take on this role, this challenge?
Well, I've been in the fishing industry for a long time. I've worked for 34 years altogether in the fishing industry. A long time in the public service. I think a change. I just fancied a change, and as the Keelebegs Fishermen Organisation has a long history, a very good history, and been a very much a community spirit history around the fishing industry there. And it's just something that I wanted a different challenge, try the public sector or the private sector, see how the other half needs to manage. And so, as I say, the challenge came up, the offer was made, and I just decided to make that switch.
There's quite a lot of challenges facing the fishing industry. Having fish to catch and having enough of them to catch to sustain the industry, I mean, that's critical, isn't it? There is this sense that we were the sacrificial lamb in the Brexit negotiations, and we can huff and we can puff, and Minister Charlie McConalogue says he's battling the corner and what have you, but we seem to be takers from Europe, and they don't give us much.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Brexit is a gift that keeps taking away rather than giving. To put it in stark reality, this year, without Brexit, we would have a mackerel quota of around 62,000 tonnes. What we ended up with around 50,000 tonnes. So, that 12,000 tonnes is about 18-20 million of a hit to the industry just for this year. It is a very difficult exercise to claw back some of that quota. The Minister was successful at Christmas in bringing back a small amount of quota, which from a reallocation from Denmark, but
did Denmark hand it back?
Not willingly. It was a fight to the end to claw it back, but in the end, the legalities of where that quota had actually been shared.
So we went from 62 down to 50 up to
50 is with that extra little bit of share.
All right.
Even though that share still hasn't been handed out, but that's something that's been carrying on for the last while.
Where else have we lost out post Brexit?
We've lost out very much in the Coastal States Agreement, which is an agreement between EU, Norway, Faroes, Iceland, and now
Faroes not in the EU.
No, but it's an agreement that covers.
Or Iceland isn't in the EU.
Yeah, but it's an agreement between the EU, Faroes, Norway, Iceland, and now the UK as a partner there. Russia are involved, which brings its own problems, and also Greenland to a certain extent. Those coastal states agreements agree the sharing arrangements for mackerel, for blue whiting, and also for a stock of herring. In recent years, the EU, because the EU negotiates on the member states' behalf, we've been very sort of, I wouldn't say hoodwinked, but the Norwegians, Icelandics, Faroese in particular have come forward, set their own unilateral quotas, particularly for mackerel, and whereas the EU share has stayed the same. So while we've taken the high moral ground, played the right sort of sustainability card, other members of that coastal states haven't.
And the whole idea of being in a union, though, is that there's strength in that union. And so the EU standing back and saying, you know, we're looking at the science. This is how much fish in these waters we believe is sustainable. And then you've got the other parties that go, oh, well, we kind of disagree. We're going to fish this amount.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating for the fishermen themselves, you know, that they see that the EU kind of taking quite a, I wouldn't say necessarily weak, but the other coastal states involved in that negotiations have been much more forceful, and you know they've really sort of backed the EU into a corner, and you know now the EU is in a position where it's quite weak in those negotiations, and unless it really takes a strong line, you know we're going to be in the position we're in, and you know or even our small share there is under threat, as I say.
Do you think the KFO has done enough to advocate on behalf of fishers?
We're a small team. We try our best. We're as vocal as we can be. It's not all about shouting for the rooftops and banging.
Is it not?
Banging your It isn't, because
I mean we're at a point now where their boats are tied up. There's no future for them. There's no future for the children in the industry. Some would say it's a sunset industry. It's on the way out. People are being paid not to fish. People are being paid to tie up their boats. And others can't actually make a living of it. It's got to the stage where we're relying on 14-year-olds to go over to Brussels and argue for the right to fish some pollock. I know you don't represent all these people. I know I'm throwing an awful lot of stuff in there. But my word, if that's not reason to scream from the rooftops, what is?
Well, I mean, there is now with the European Parliament elections a real opportunity, and also the change of the Commission itself. There's opportunities now to really influence that. The outgoing commissioner announced an evaluation of the CFP. It's really important at an Irish level that we're as vocal as we can be.
And who's lobbying on our behalf on the CFP negotiations and the Common Fishery Policy negotiation? Who's our team and who's heading that team in Brussels?
Well, it's the minister and his own senior officials.
How do you think the minister's doing?
He's fighting a lot of battles. I'd say
in marine or generally speaking.
Generally speaking,
okay.
And again, it's. I don't want to be overcritical of him, but I think that we have been quite silent in some of the negotiations. We've been, we haven't necessarily put our position forward as clearly as we.
And sometimes we did it via video call.
Yeah, so we need to have that presence in Brussels, and that's really important. And it's going to be absolutely vital for the next 8 to 10, 12 months that we have a really strong presence in Brussels.
Do we need a minister or Minister of State with specific responsibility to fisheries?
There's pros and cons to that. Again,
what are the cons then?
The cons is that you have a Minister of State who's not necessarily at the cabinet table, and the cabinet table is where a lot of decisions are made. The pro is that you have someone full-time responsibility for that. We've had that situation in the past in the mid-90s, where we did have a Minister for State, and that Minister of State was actually very good. Eamon Gilmore at the time was very good on fisheries. But as I say, it has that drawback that that minister isn't necessarily at the cabinet table. So he's a little bit.
But the decisions aren't made at the cabinet table.
Most of them, well,
they're not. They're made in Brussels. I'm not trying to teach my granny how to suck eggs here, but the ministers, those decisions aren't made at the cabinet table. But, we take those decisions from Europe, as you're well aware, Dominic.
Yeah.
But you say there's still cons. You think there are still cons, okay? Because I think you said the minister's incredibly busy. So what do you think you can achieve? I mean, obviously, listen, to some extent it's lobbying, isn't it? That's what you have to do. You have to try and get the message out there and what have you. So how do you go about doing that? How do you go about keeping the pressure on nationally so we nationally make the argument on a European-wide basis that we want to not pay people not to fish. We want it to make it practical for people to fish. Yourself, you go on Marine Tracker or what have you. We see these massive ships. I'm not sure I've heard much from the KFO about it. We've seen these massive factory ships, sucking fish up. There's very little policing of it. We don't know what's being discarded. We don't know what implications it's having on the environmental aspect of other species and all that type of stuff. And we're sat on the shore looking out at this with our arms crossed and our boats tied up. What can the KFO, do you think, do about that? I know this feeds into the quotas and what have you, but do we need to get some teeth here, don't we? Start really fighting.
We need to. Well, there's absolutely a need for to be much more vocal at the European level but as from our perspective, it's we need to have that that input to the minister, but the minister needs to listen to us as well. And that's in the last little while, we've had a sense of there's been I would say a lack of engagement maybe with some of the POs, particularly ourselves.
What's a PO?
Our producer organisation.
Okay, yeah.
So we need that engagement. We need the engagement with the senior officials in the department. In the end, up they are the ones.
What's the relationship between the likes of POs and senior officials in the department? Because something actually we do have control over is regulation and the implementation of that. How we interpret European laws and apply them at the piers and what have you. What's the relationship like between the likes of the KFO and others and civil servants or the marine staff, so to speak?
Generally,
it's strained.
Generally, it's reasonably constructive, I would say, in that there's been a lot of change in the Department of Marine in the last 6 to 8 months. We've had a little bit of a lack of engagement, I would have to say, in the last sort of 3 or 4 months since I've been involved in the KFO.
Have you had any meeting with fishery staff?
We've had several meetings with them.
In your tenure?
But not enough.
So you've met with them in your tenure?
Yes.
Okay, very. And have you met with Charlie McConalogue?
I've been at meetings with Charlie McConalogue. Okay, have I met him person? No, I haven't.
Right, okay. No, but it's not. That sounds like an inquisition. I don't mean it to come across like that. I'm just wondering if their level of engagement with you. If you were appointed the head of the KFO, I'd be saying, listen, I want to, do you want to go for lunch? I want to talk things through with you, see where there's some commonality and what have you.
We are in the process of doing that engagement.
So, what do you think the progress we've made for fishers, say, for instance, in the last couple of years? Do you know what I mean? What's improved in the fishing industry? What good initiatives have come in, or what's happened that's good for the fishing industry?
I think one of the very good things that happened last year was BIM came out with a report on the carbon footprint of fishing, and that showed fishing to be a very low carbon footprint when you.
And these are obviously not. This is the entire fleet.
Yeah.
It doesn't include the boats that have been paid to tie up, obviously, because that would skew the figures.
Yeah. So but it's based on the activity of those vessels, and when you compare their carbon footprint to other food producing things like in farming, it's very, very, very low.
Yeah.
So from a food security point of view, from a climate change point of view, that's a really positive story that we need to sing for the rooftops. It is, and there's even.
But in terms of new measures from government or from Europe, is there anything that springs to mind? And I understand if there doesn't, is there anything that springs to mind that's been an advance for the fishing industry here?
Not, to be honest with you, not really. No, I mean, a lot of it is more regulation, more red tape on top of more red tape. We have a new amendment to the control regulation that will bring its own difficulties again. It's another layer. As I say, control is control, and we obviously need that. But where it's control for almost for the sake of it.
But that's internal. Control.
Well, there's an EU regulation, but it would be enforced.
We decide how it's enforced.
Yeah, exactly.
We enforce it a different way to other nations.
If we've had a history of doing that in the past, but we obviously shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
It should be.
So some of it's internal. The life of fishermen internally in this country is made difficult through regulation and what have you.
If the interpretation of that regulation is not the same as other member states, then it can create.
Which is what's happening at the moment. We might as well get it all out there whilst we're having the convo.
Yeah.
Now, further to that, do you believe that the EU has an interest in sustaining or even growing the fishing industry? Do you know, as it divvies things up, do you think we're seeing maybe less as food producers, more of, energy generators, digital sort of IT technology? I mean, do you think the EU considers the fact that, culturally farming, fishing, it's who we are, it's what we are? Do you think they have any interest in supporting and maintaining and growing that as they divvy out the various initiatives and what have you?
if you look at where this commission that's coming to an end very soon, if you look at the pattern around things like the Green Deal, food farm to fork, and these sort of things, they are very environmentally orientated, which is all perfectly fine. But in implementing those, they are, they will hurt the farming industry. They are hurting the fishing industry.
Yeah, but we've got landlocked countries with fishing quotas, right? So, I mean, we should be able to make a strong argument that we should be doing it in our own waters.
Yeah. And I think you've seen a slight change in the Commission's attitude, and it'll be, the acid test will be when you have this new College of Commissioners of how or where that sits. There are there's always been rumours about the fisheries in itself will no longer be part of a separate Director General in the EU, that it will be moved into environment or it'll move it into agriculture. Mm-hmm. And you can see if that's what happens, then you can see that there will be a different pattern. If it moves in agriculture, it moves in with the food production. If it moves on the environmental side, then that's where then that brings its own implications.
You worked half a decade in the EU Commission. I'm not sure if it was in this area or.
No, I worked 5 years. I was 5 years in the Commission, working actually in DG Mara.
What's DG Mara?
DG Mara is the maritime.
Okay, so what did you learn of the Commission's attitude to Ireland in those 5 years?
Generally, I mean, Ireland was well regarded by the EU, generally as quite progressive in what they did. But say that Ireland is a small coastal state, or coastal nation, small island nation.
You're counting the land. You're not counting our water.
But again, in EU terms,
I know that.
It's all about.
I'm being facetious.
It's all about votes, and in that sense, yes, we're reasonably well regarded, but really the ability we had to influence a lot of things, I would say, is diminished, and that goes for lots of countries who have a similar population to us. We, at the time I was there, the Irish president, we did have presidency of the council at that time. With that, you get a certain amount of influence, but you also, you have to be the honest broker as well.
Of course you do.
So
given the fact that hasn't changed, and in terms of our influence on the EU as a whole, as you can understand, because of the representation we have there, then how can we be in any way optimistic that we would get a fairer deal in the common fisheries policy? Do you know what I mean? Because our negotiating strength hasn't strengthened. We are where we are, right? And you from the inside have seen that there are bigger nations that have more influence and can look after their people more. So what then can we actually do? I mean, do we not have to sort of maybe... we're very compliant, I think. And I think the EU is good for us, right? It has been good for us. People might disagree. But do we not need to start rattling a few cages out there, though, making a bit of noise?
I think we need to be making some noise at the right time. And we need to pick our opportunities for that. And as I say, I think as the Commissioner announced an evaluation of the CFP, that is the time that really we need to really point out the damage that Brexit has done to our industry, what we actually gave compared to other member states, and use that as the leverage of saying, look, we need a better deal going forward, because, what you've given us is, it's not the right.
Yeah, we did take it as well. We did agree to it.
We did, and that's obviously...
And history should remember that we as a nation, the government on our behalf, accepted the terms of Brexit. They weren't. We had a say.
That's true, but if you look at on the fisheries side, the way that we paid back the UK was an EU-wide thing. It's something that it's not. It's something the EU can control themselves.
It is indeed, but we did have leaders at that time who would not be drawn into any Ireland versus Britain controversy or conversation, because these are negotiations, they said, between Britain and the EU. So we stood back and we actually said publicly that that's what we were doing, and then this is the deal that we got, which hopefully you're hoping as part of the common fisheries policy negotiations will be undone to some extent.
I think there's scope there for some positive things to be done, and they have nothing to do necessarily with Brexit. They're internal EU politics of trying to rectify that. And you got to remember, the CFP itself is nearly 30 years old and hasn't changed really very much in 30 years. So surely that says in itself that there is scope to change.
And I think too, what this conversation so far has underlined is the it feels to me, I'm not in the industry, right, but it feels to me we're almost at a crossroads. So we're coming to this CFP. We know the last one's been in there for 3 decades, okay? That we have, it feels almost like one shot to decide where we are going as a nation of fishers here, or not a nation of fishers, but a fishing nation, so to speak. Like this, what we get, I think, will determine whether it goes or it grows.
Oh, and I wouldn't disagree. I think putting in those terms is exactly where we are. We are at a crossroads. We do have an opportunity. We won't get that opportunity for at least another 10 years in terms of the common fisheries policy.
My fear as well, too, though, is that the damage has been done in that even if I just wonder if even if we had more action for boats, we've lost a generation of fishers, right? You know what I mean? Will people be able to staff boats? People have seen different things. It's almost as if a space was created where there was a natural demise. Not natural, but you know what I mean? It would be a big piece of work to try and reinvigorate that industry, get people back into it, get people back employed. Because as I say, it's skipped a generation now.
Yeah, and that, again, it's fair comment. I mean, that's our job as industry representatives to try and reinvigorate that as best we can. But we absolutely will need the support of the government and the minister to do that. We can't do it on our own. But we are at a crossroads. We are facing many challenges at the moment. If you go back to Killybegs, the processors in Killybegs will tell you this is the worst year they've ever had on record. With factories running at 50% capacity when they should be
landed here.
Yeah, the fish aren't there, and the fish haven't been landed, and that's something we have to arrest and we have to change.
And part of that is because it was made so bloody difficult to land fish that people decided to go elsewhere.
The harbour itself has got a bit of a reputation now. There's
of
fair
course
to say,
it has, and that is done internally.
Yeah, well, it's about
So what are you doing as the KFO? I say I'm not putting this on you, but so what is the KFO going to do to take on the minister, to take on the I can't remember the collective name of internal fisheries. What is it called? Those that administer the rules and what have you, and to what is the KFO going to do to try and take, to put the pressure on Minister McConalogue, whoever happens to be the minister at the time, to put the pressure on those internally that are interpreting European rules in a way that's actually disadvantaging Killybegs in a great way, arguing about weighing fish with or without water and all that crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that we need to come together as an industry. For the last number of years, there's been a sort of quite a split between the different representative organisations. We've had this sort of pitching big boats against small boats. As an industry, we need to come together as one. We need to have clear messaging around where it is we want to go. What is it we want from the fishing industry? And until we have that clear message, yes, we can continue discussing with the minister, continue discussing with the department. But we need to make sure that he knows clearly what it is, where we want to go. Some of it he may be able to deliver, some he may not be. That's the way it is. But it is about that collective spirit of the
and a couple of people asking the question, do you as an individual or KFO as an organisation have faith, a confidence in the current Minister for the Marine, very busy minister, as you've already pointed out, to be the lead for your industry as we renegotiate the common fisheries policy?
It's a question I wouldn't like to give an answer to. Do we have confidence in him? Look, he's in his tenure, he's done.
No, I'm saying, do you or the KFO have confidence in the current Marine Minister to be the person to lead the Irish delegation as part of the renegotiation of the common fisheries policy? I'm not going to lie to you, right? In the absence of a yes, that will be interpreted as a no. But it's up to you how you answer.
Do we have? I mean, he is the minister we have at the time. Do we have confidence in him? We'll see where the discussions go in the next few months. Okay, it's been a fascinating conversation, Dominic. Anything you want to add? I feel like I've been asking a lot of questions, and as I say, it's just a really good opportunity for the first chat with you as head of the KFO to see
sort of where the KFO sees where we're at, where we're going, and what have you. So it's been great to be able to sort of, have that opportunity to ask you. But I don't want you to walk out of here and think that, well, I didn't get to say this, or I wouldn't mind you pointed that out. So I want to be really fair to you.
I think there's two things. I mean, I repeat the message. Like, as an industry, we need to come together. That's really one of the biggest things that we need to get across. So we need to come together as one industry. But I think the other thing is, we do need engagement from the minister. We need engagement from the senior civil servants in the department, because we're all in this together. And we have an opportunity now, but it's a short time window, and it's a small opportunity. Thanks.
Brilliant stuff. Dominic Ryan, Chief Executive Officer of the KFO. It's, I'm sure the organisation, they approached you. Great to have you on board. We look forward to engaging with you in the future. We'll continue with Your Voice, Your Community in a few moments.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
€3,000 is the top prize, and there's 5 other great prizes in Milford AC's big development draw on May the 6th. Get your ticket today through Milford Athletics' Facebook page.
Some people get up early every morning. But on the morning of May 11th, we want everyone to be up for the most important sunrise of the year. Whether it's your first time or 10th time, join Pieta and Electric Ireland for this year's Darkness into Light. On May 11th, everyone's welcome. Sign up, take part and raise much needed funds for suicide prevention at darknessintolight.ie.
Are you thinking about an electric car? Have all your questions and concerns answered at the one-day EV event in Divers Hyundai on Saturday the 11th of May. Come along and meet the experts, including members of the Donegal Electric Vehicle Owners Association. Also, talk to Barry Sharkey about installing a home charger. See the stunning Ioniq 5N that's just arrived and test drive our full Hyundai EV range. If you're thinking electric, this event is a must for you, and it's on Saturday the 11th of May from 10 to 4 at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Hotel Collection duvet sets are all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price Hotel Collection duvet sets are gone, they're gone. Also, all pillows and all lightweight luggage are still all half price. But when all the half price pillows and all the half price lightweight luggage are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
With Big Scoop Ice Cream at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny, there's so much choice. From Bubblegum Blast to Oreo Crunch, named after Kelly's famous robot waiter. There's loads of flavours to choose from, or you can create your own. Treat the kids and the big kids to a yummy ice cream dessert at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Okay, so we are continuing Your Voice, Your Community. It's in association with Commission Man, and we were speaking there to the new head of the KFO. And now we're going to speak about angling. And angling for me, when I was younger, was just my go-to thing. We lived outside Donegal Town, and I went to school in Donegal Town. And from the end of school, the next time I'd be in Donegal Town in the summer would be when I went back to school, because we were out fishing in the sea, in the rivers, and doing whatever else. And I wonder, do we see as much of that anymore? John McClune's member of multiple Donegal angling clubs, and he's with us now. John, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Greg.
Good to have you on board.
Good morning.
Right, are as many people sort of, and people of all ages really, fishing as much as they used to, I wonder?
No, they're not, unfortunately. It's dropping off a bit, but we're trying to promote it and bring people back to a bit of fishing and a bit of enjoyment.
And I think sometimes it's like, where do you start? I think there's a lot equipment to get you going, right? You can start off relatively cheap, right? But people don't know, where do you go? Do I need a license? Where do you buy a license? And all that type. Can I walk on this piece of land? Can I not? I think that really what puts a lot of mums and dads maybe from taking the young ones out to try their hand at fishing. Do you get that?
Yes, and that's where we're going to have an open day at the Glenties Fishery on the 18th of May. From 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock. and that is for everybody experienced and people that want to find out all those details to come along and find out and see what fishing's about. And it will be supported by most of the Donegal clubs, and we'll have a good time showing people how to tie knots, what hooks, what worms, etc., bait, rods and stuff, and introduce them to fishing and maybe catch a few and get them hooked themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes you only just need a rise to keep you going for another 4 hours. You don't actually have to catch one. But anyway, and there's you have done great work too, or great work's being done, not, of course, through this open day to involve more families and young people to get involved, but also allowing people with different ranges of mobility to get involved in fishing. And there was some recent equipment installed at Lough-Onnur.
Yes, I'm a member of Lough-Onnur, and we've installed, we have a disabled boat, we have a disabled lift, and thanks to local companies around Donegal who give us tool hire, etc., free of charge, we've installed this, and we're disabled friendly, and it lets a disabled or a person that's not able-bodied to come fishing also.
I think that's amazing. And your best catch was a trout in 2015, and I love it. You won a boat engine.
I did indeed, down in Lough-Onnur, yes. We have that competition every year.
Well done. Is it still going for you?
It is indeed, yeah.
All right, good man. Thanks, John. Take care of yourself. Just to remind you that open day, Saturday the 18th of May, in the O&E Fisheries office from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. That's where you register. And it's just a wonderful thing to get involved in. John Boyle and other Johns from the Glentees Angling Club. And John, really, it's about letting people know that we have amazing facilities, don't we? And we've amazing, we've got amazing people involved in fishing, and it's not a closed club. And the more the merrier. And through it, I think you learn more about nature. You learn more about how things work. You learn more for respect of water and land. Often it's like farmers and anglers are the same. They're almost like the guardians of our environment too, aren't they? Albeit pulling fish out by the mouth.
Absolutely, Greg. Just for our day in particular, and I'm just kind of reflecting on myself. Like we were introduced, like yourself, with your opening statement, we were introduced when we were young. We used to go to the river with a box of worms, and we were introduced through our forefathers and family, And fishing now, for me personally, has evolved because when we were younger, it was easier to introduce people to the river because the restrictions weren't as tight, because we're trying to protect our salmon stocks now, and I was fortunate enough then, because it was introduced with good friends through the lake fishing there with John that has just been speaking, and there's so many different angles to fishing now that we can introduce young people and even people in a more mature like ourselves into fishing. And this day in particular, it's just an open day. It's all that is positive about fishing. We were in contact with IFI and Land Fishery Ireland. They're all excited about it as well, and they're going to explain everything that happens on their side of things. Brilliant. They're going to do aquatic life and what's happening in the river and the quality of the water, monitoring fish stocks and habitats. And then, as we said, then they'll explain what their role is and what they do. That'll be there, for people. They're, just to educate people exactly what fishing's all about.
And I'll tell you, you can't be on your phone when you've got a fishing rod in your hands. It's a great way to switch off, and we are so lucky here. Rocks, piers, lakes, rivers, boat fishing. You know what I mean? Like it's a fantastic thing for anyone. I think, John, to get involved in.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And see what sort of stemmed from this open day was, and John spoke briefly about Lough-Onnur, but we have a fantastic club out here in Fintown. The Ross's anglers are fabulous. They have over 100 lakes. down in their facility. We have, and we talked about the sea fishing, you have the Killybegs Mariners there. So people walk, we'll say, Yarn Beach or Rossnowla, and they see all these rods out on the water, and they're wondering what are they doing and stuff. So this is an opportunity for this day to come along, find out exactly what type of fishing is available, what we can do, and as I said there, you can roll up and chat to the boys from Fantown or Loughanure or Dunlow, and we have Mulford clubs down further afield, and just to educate people. And what our main thinking is on this here is when we're introducing people to fishing and these we controlled clubs like Fantown and Loughanure and stuff, they have a controlled environment
of
there.
Course. Okay.
Well, I have to, safe,
John,
and we have people.
I do have to move on. You've sold me on it. It's an open day, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, the 18th of May, at the O&E Fisheries Office, Mill Road, Glenties, and it's clear from both Johns, everybody's going to be really, really welcome. And thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Okay, many of you out there have a certain vintage, shall we say, will be very familiar with. Our next guest is TV presenter Timmy Mallet. Timmy, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Greetings. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, indeed. It's kind of weird meeting someone that you watched on the TV as a younger person. But you look fantastic, actually. We look about the same age. So I'm starting to question when I actually watched you on the telly when I was younger, Timmy. Good morning to you.
Only a couple of years ago.
All right, okay. Come here. Listen, do you know why we wanted to contact you? Is because we were contacted by a number of different listeners who have been tracking your adventure. And I've just really enjoyed it and really got something from it and thought, you know what, you really need to speak to Timmy because, we're getting an awful lot back from what he's doing. Is that the type of feedback you've been getting? We'll talk more about what you're doing, but, we're at a point now where the public have sort of direct interaction with you with social media and all that kind of stuff.
Sorry, Greg, you disappeared in the middle of that. What you were saying, so I missed some of that.
Yeah, simply all I was saying is that we've had lots of feedback from our listeners saying they're really enjoying your journey.
Well, that's really nice, and it's just joyous to have that sort of response, Greg. It really is lovely to share the adventure in the way that you can these days on social media, and social media is so immediate and very personal, and it's a delight to hear from people who are following it, to talk about it wherever they are in the world. And that's the point, isn't it? Is that, on socials, you can be joining people anywhere on the planet. I just happen to be in the gorgeous northwest of Ireland, and it's really something here.
You are cycling around Britain and Ireland for charity, raising funds in memory of your late brother Martin. He passed away in 2018 and had Down syndrome. So this is it's a very public trip for you, Timmy, but also very personal.
Yeah, my dear brother Martin, with his language and learning difficulties, Down syndrome, lived every day of his life in the moment, the here and now of living. And we don't do this very often. Most of the time, Greg, we talk about things will be great when or if, come the weekend, I go on holiday, I get the new outfit, I get a new job or whatever. But hang on, what's wrong with the right here? Right now? And Martin would say things like, you and me, I'm happy. It's such a lovely phrase. It's such a reassuring thing that actually what makes us tick is being in the moment and surrounded with people that we care about. And so Martin's in just to remind myself to be in the moment. I'm leaving little Martin Mallet name tags with people or in places along the way. You know those things your mum sews into your clothes to make sure they're yours, those name tags? Well, that's the sort of thing I'm using to mark my journey around the great Donegal and the Northwest.
And I presume you're recognised everywhere you go, Timmy, because, I mean, you know, I'm not hawking back. You're still busy, don't get me wrong, but you were everywhere for a period of time.
I'm fairly recognisable, that's for sure. And I am colourful. I mean, when you see me on the bike, you'll go, there's no mistaking who that is.
Do you have an actual mallet with you, or if you reduce them all to sticker size?
Listen, what you'll have to do, Greg, is get out on your bike and come and see.
Okay. Come here. I'm not going to ask the obvious questions because you've probably had to do this with everyone you're speaking to, but I presume you're particularly moved by the beauty of us here in the Northwest, are you, Timmy?
Oh, look, the views are stunning, but the people are really special. I love the fact that everybody's got a moment, and a moment to have a little wee chat. A wee chat. You see, I'm even using the language. I know the phrases, and it's just joyous meeting people and chatting like we are now, Greg.
Brilliant stuff. Now, you were in Burt yesterday, and you're making your way in and around Inishowen, the north of Donegal, and you're heading south towards Letterkenny today. At what point of your sort of journey are you circumnavigating the islands, or what is the story?
Crikey, I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along. I mean, it's like each day as it comes, or almost each hour. I had a lovely stay last night on Greenan Hotel in Burt, and you know, they said, right, pill. Oh, thanks. And then you want to go and stand on the border and see what that looks like between, because it's only just a couple of miles up there. And then maybe you should go down to Inch on the old railway line, that little greenway, and go over the causeway. And then perhaps hang on, just a minute. So there's lots of suggestions coming, and you'll find me on one of those things. I'll be pedalling along the road somewhere and stop and say hello. And Greg, I did invite you to come cycling, but I haven't heard you eagerly getting on your bike and saying yes, you will.
I'm at pains not to commit to something. Do you know the thing that I've loved about this conversation more is hearing from you is the wonderful gift that your brother Martin left you in terms of your attitude towards life, you know, what you learned from in that regard, and such a wonderful gift to get it when you've so much of your life ahead of you, because you're going to enjoy it so much more. Yep. I think that line broke down there. Listen, how can people support your charity? The line's not fantastic, Timmy. How can people support your charity?
I'm not actually raising money. No. This is not a fundraising thing. This is a raising awareness of what I would call reaching our potential to be the best that we can be. And the thing here, Greg, is that you set your own bar. You set your own standard, if you like, to decide how much you need to do. I mean, you, Greg, don't have to be the best radio presenter in the world, just the best that you can be. And actually, that's easy to do. And for me, it's about being a cycle tourist, being curious, being eager to explore and to be open to opportunities. And I think it's about reaching our potential. So say hello.
Okay, listen, Timmy, thank you so much. Safe journey. I'm delighted you're getting the welcome that you deserve here in the Northwest, and safe travels onwards. Take care of yourself.
I'll see you on the bike, Greg.
Okay, of course.
If you're not there, Timmy, you'll be in trouble.
Timmy Mallet there. Do you remember Timmy from the Wide Awake Club? Whack-A-Day, Around the World in 80? He's been around for yonks, hasn't he? And still looks absolutely fantastic. And he's currently in Burt, in on Greenan, and he's making his way to Letterkenny today, we're told.
I'm making a move. Looking for real choice? Leave diesel behind and make the move to Toyota Hybrid Electric at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. World-leading hybrid electric technology, lower emissions driving, with the widest choice of hybrid electric models from Ireland's best-selling car brand. With flexible payment options available, make the move today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world.
If you're aged 80 or over or have a weak immune system, it's time to get your COVID-19 spring booster vaccine. Your spring booster will top up your immunity against COVID-19 and help protect you from serious illness for the months ahead. It's recommended you get your booster before the end of May. Talk to a participating GP or pharmacist today, or call our HSC Live team on 1800 700 700. Visit hsc.ie for more information. From the HSC.
Tom Duffy Circus is now in Letterkenny at a new location at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See the Globe of Death, Wheel of Steel, The Amazing Laserman and Macon, our new clown, all in one breathtaking performance. Don't be confused. The only place you'll see Ireland's favourite circus this weekend is at Kiltoy Roundabout until Monday, 6th of May. Book now at duffycircus.com.
At Holland and Barrett, we believe it's time to change the way we think about our hormones. We've heard for too long, you're hormonal, but that's normal. Let's learn how to work together with our hormones so we're united in our quiet days, high days, what's happening to me days, the wonders of life days. Because when we understand our rhythm, we can own every day of the month. Find personalised solutions to support your hormone health. Now on 3 for 2 at Holland and Barrett. Offer ends 14th of May, subject to availability.
Highland Radio weather updates with McIlhenny's. Support local at McIlhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McIlhenny's Ballybuffet.
We love better value at Dunn Stores. Make a delicious steak dinner for two, starting with your choice from a fantastic selection of wine and champagne, like Whispering Angel and Moet et Chandon. Now 20% off. Then prepare 2 Board Bia quality assured Irish strip loin or ribeye steaks and skinny cut or chunky chips for just €9. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunn Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop for €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Auricular coherent toncatery.
Optocapital funicular tricaptary.
Ocular co-offensive totalmography. Oh, I've got it. No, I lost it.
Optimized comprehensive phonology.
What is it anyway?
Optical coherence tomography, an advanced eye health scan that can help spot sight conditions early. At Specsavers, we think it's so important, we're providing it nationwide.
It's ocular coherence
Not everyone can say it, but everyone can have it. Add it to your eye test. Check your local store for price.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Get all your training and matchday essentials at Michael Murphy Sports. From GAA gloves to mouthguards and grip socks to boots. Also shorts, base layers and training equipment. Gear up for pre-season and match days with the new Donegal home jersey and the Donegal GAA Rockway range of sweaters, bottoms and half zips at michaelmurphysports.ie. With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, and a minute past 11. Let's get a news update. It's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal County Council has been warned that it cannot sit back and accept the responsibility for the provision and maintenance of fire hydrants lies with Isca Erin. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien has confirmed that it is up to the utility to carry out inspections of fire hydrants. However, there's ongoing concerns that inspections are not being carried out. It's come to light as the fire service has encountered difficulties on a number of occasions accessing hydrants when responding to a call-out. Members of the Council's Economic Development SPC have proposed an initiative be undertaken by the fire service to carry out a review of hydrants across the county. The Cabinet Subcommittee on Migration is to meet today, where it will hear updates on efforts to process asylum applications quicker. It will also discuss deportations in the event of applications being rejected. It comes after Taoiseach Micheál Martin told the Northern Ireland Secretary that Gardaí will not police the border. A Donegal County Councillor believes a process needs to be introduced to instil a duty of care on council house tenants that they keep the property in a decent condition and do not engage in antisocial behaviour. Councillor Michael McBride says in some areas fellow residents are living in fear due to incidents of antisocial behaviour. He's calling for a representative of Donegal County Council and a member of An Garda Síochána to be appointed to monitor the behaviour of council tenants. The HSE has confirmed that there are no plans to reopen Annagry Health Centre in West Donegal. The facility closed at the start of the pandemic, with patients instead travelling to attend the GP in Burtonport and Dunloe since. The HSE says GPs have reported that there are limitations to the range of service they can provide from the health centre in Annagry, which make patient consultations unsatisfactory. The RSA and Gardaí are appealing to motorists to slow down and drive carefully this weekend. The Maybank Holiday Road Safety Appeal has been launched. There will be a visible Garda enforcement presence on the roads across the weekend, targeting people driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. West Donegal Councillor Michael McClafferty has confirmed that he will be seeking re-election in the upcoming local elections. Councillor McClafferty was first elected onto Donegal County Council as a Fine Gael councillor in 2019, and a number of months later he announced his exit from the party and has served as an independent councillor since. And a missing Donegal teenager has been found. The 15-year-old had been missing from the Maharabeg area since April the 17th. Gardaí have confirmed that he has been located safe and well. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you very much indeed.
Londis can't promise good weather this Maybank holiday weekend, but we can promise good value. Choose a tasty pizza from our selected Chicago 10 thin and crispy pizza range. Get a pack of Green Isle wedges and a pack of onion rings, all for an incredible €6.99. Get any 2 packs from the O'Donnell's crisps range for just €3.50. And Budweiser or Carlsberg 8-pack cans are only €13.57, plus €1.20 deposit. At Londis, we know what locals want, because we're local, like you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Now, as you would know, we are heading towards the European elections, and we're joined now by 2 candidates. Senator Pauline O'Reilly of the Green Party. Good morning to you, Senator. Thanks so much for your time today.
Morning. Thanks a million.
And we're also in the company of Senator Lisa Chambers of Fianna Fáil, candidate as well for the Midlands North West European election. Good morning, Lisa.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Pauline.
Right, now, Lisa, you have said, or at least you were quoted as saying, that Eamon Ryan is getting Green wrong and Fianna Fáil should ditch his party. What made you come out with such a statement?
Yeah, so it's focusing really on the offshore renewable wind sector that I believe the Minister is not being ambitious enough for the west of Ireland and for the northwest. I met with him probably over a year ago now at this stage, and have been engaging with the wind energy sector for most of this Oireachtas term. And there's been a lack of ambition and drive to allow us to get started on the West Coast. So what I mean by that is that we need to start mapping the West Coast, even just identifying sites. Then you have to move to getting a seabed lease. Then you have to move to doing your planning process, your environmental impact assessments. So it's a long road to get to a point where you can actually put a turbine way out at sea. But we haven't even gotten started yet. And I say that in the context of the west of Ireland having the second best wind corridor in the world, the best wind corridor in Europe. And yet when we look at future projections for wind energy, Ireland as a country isn't even in the top 10.
And why can't you and your party...
England, Portugal are moving ahead.
I beg your pardon, Lisa. Why can't you and your party, though, explore these opportunities with the Greens rather than you, I suppose, opening up with both barrels on Minister Ryan, saying that he's too Dublin-centric, I believe. So why do you believe that the Green Party aren't the partners to achieve what you believe we should be achieving?
My own view on it, and I have engaged with Minister Ryan on this, as I said, quite some time ago. So this isn't my first time trying to advance this. And, you know, the elections, the European elections, give you an opportunity and a platform to put forward your ideas and your vision for the region that you live in. So that's the context why I'm raising it more now as well. Look, I just think the Green Party, whilst good intentions, and I think in fairness, for a long time, they were the only party talking about climate change and addressing it. But that's changed now. Every party is green. We all know we have to reduce our emissions. We all know we have to tackle climate change. But it's about how we do that and the vision as to how we achieve that. And I just think the Green Party at times talk down to people. They present green as red, everything you can't do, everything you shouldn't do. And the easiest thing to do is just reduce consumption and just reduce your activities. But there's better ways of achieving this. And I think when we know that there are 10 times Ireland's energy needs sitting off the West Coast, and we have a Green Minister not even allowing us to cross the start line. We have a Green Minister that's saying, red, you can't do this, I'm not ready yet. And as I said, France, England, Portugal, they're all moving ahead on this. They're all investing in their
Before I bring
mapping.
Senator O'Reilly in, though, and your own party leader is very quick to point this out. I mean, you're all partners in government. It's not the Greens that set the agenda. It's the Greens, perhaps they have their influence on it, but all three parties sign up to this. And, you know, whatever we are doing, your party leader's a co-signee. It's not like Eamon Ryan's on a solo run.
I'm not suggesting that Eamon Ryan is on a solo run. As I said, it's not a personal issue with Eamon Ryan. I think he's well-intentioned, but I think the Green Party are so focused on decarbonisation and reducing emissions and 2030 targets that they're missing the bigger picture. The green can become the country's greatest economic opportunity if we have the vision and the ambition to go after it. And if we don't start now, I mean, the technology is there or thereabouts for the West Coast. You know, the Norwegians are putting it in the Arctic Sea. Scotland are moving ahead.
Okay.
They got planning permission for their first commercial wind farm a couple of days ago. So what we're asking is give us a few bob to get started on the planning. That's the ask. And I think that's a small ask for the West of Ireland. And I would expect every public representative in the West of Ireland to be rowing in behind this ask, because I think it's reasonable and I think it's showing that we're leading and ambitious for the region where we live. Okay, Senator Pauline O'Reilly, I'm sorry to wait so long to bring you in. I'll give you equal opportunity, of course. But quite the statements there from Senator Chambers.
Oh, look, I mean, you'd easily know there was an election coming up. And look, there's so much misinformation. I've pointed it out to Lisa. My colleagues have pointed it out to Lisa. And yet she still seems to be going down this same route of the Greens aren't as green as Fianna Fáil. Well, her own party colleagues wouldn't agree with her there. And, you know, it's quite disingenuous. And in actual fact, I can see one of the comments that Lisa has made is that farmers wouldn't have to do as much if we just did this one little thing. Well, it's not that small a thing. And in fact, it's her own minister, Darragh O'Brien, who puts the resources into mapping, into marine planning, and hasn't been putting enough resources in. And obviously, if you've got other coastline to put in place the technology that does exist, you move forward with the technology that does exist. And look, I'm on the Joint Oireachtas Committee on climate. I've visited farms in Scotland. We have 18-foot high waves off the west coast. We're decades off where we need to be in terms of floating. So, of course, we'll move forward with it. But the idea that you don't do other things because we have this magical ability to have some future technology off the west coast, we need to map. Fortunately now, eventually, the Fianna Fáil minister powers have been moved on to Eamon Ryan, and that's happening in the coming weeks. And Eamon Ryan is putting 25 more staff into the mapping. But it is the delays that are nothing to do with Eamon Ryan that Lisa Chambers obviously didn't know when she decided to go out on this. And now she just seems to be continuing down this line. But ultimately, it's a very challenging position for me to be in. I've always tried to get on with my government colleagues as much as possible. That's what we do in the Green Party. We negotiate and we collaborate. But I think what people need to think about is, what way would Lisa Chambers vote on anything if she went to Europe? Because I'm not sure whether she's saying that people aren't green enough or that people are too green. It's really unclear. Would she vote with her party colleagues on the nature restoration law, for instance? Very unclear. She had an opportunity, I suppose, to support the government, the greenest government in history, which is a government of three parties, the Green Party, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, instead of saying everything we've done is the fault of the Green Party. You just cannot abdicate yourself from responsibility when ultimately what we want, and what most people I speak to want, is they want a sustainable future. they want sustainable energy, and they want money in the pockets of family farms.
Okay.
And you can't do that if you say nothing needs to be changed in other sectors.
Well, Senator Chambers, then, Senator O'Reilly seems to be saying you got it wrong from the beginning. You were shown that you got it wrong from the beginning, and now you're doubling down.
There's actually quite a lot of that response there, so I've just made a few notes so I can come back. And I don't want to get into, it's not a personal thing between myself and one other individual.
Well, it kind of is, because you're both looking for one of the 5 seats, so we might pretend it's not, but it is.
You know, we're campaigning in a European election, but this is an issue that I've been working on for a number of years. So first of all, it's the responsibility of Eamon Ryan to progress energy. He's the Minister for Energy, okay? And it's Minister Eamon Ryan that the wind sector have actually been engaging with for years. So I don't know where this thing about it becoming Darragh O'Brien's problem, but in any event, you know, we'll move on from
Is he not responsible to, I think, met Senator O'Reilly, and she's well capable to speak for herself, and she can at any point says that it was Minister O'Brien's responsibility to fund and staff the mapping that you're calling for?
Well, actually, the Department of Public Expenditure has funded 30 extra staff for mapping, not 25. And that's welcome. And I would love to see some of that resource be put into mapping the West Coast. So just a couple of points to respond to what Paulina said. I never said that the Greens were not as green as Fianna Fáil. I was never making that point. The Green Party, as I said at the outset, were one of the first parties out to focus on climate change, and that's to their credit. But my point was that all parties now acknowledge we need to work on getting emissions down, and we need to be ambitious for tackling climate change. I never said farmers wouldn't have to do as much now. Farmers work with nature. They get it. They're already making changes. And the opportunities around biomethane to reduce emissions, to fuel agriculture is very real, and green hydrogen as well. When I said that Pauline is saying that the technology doesn't exist, don't take my word for it. The wind industry are already, they're the ones lobbying. They're the ones that have come to me and Eamon Ryan. They want to get started. The technology is sitting off the coast of Scotland.
So before you go through your talking points, I do want to give Senator O'Reilly an opportunity to come back in there, because you're shaking your head, Senator.
Look, I mean, Lisa seems to think she's the only person that speaks to the energy industry. I mean, I've discussed this with Eamon. Well, 1 second now. I've discussed this with Eamon Ryan. I visited Scotland myself, and it is simply not available at the moment. And to sell people this idea that there's something there that this government, including you, are not doing, but that exists, I think is unfair to people, because you're not being honest about it. And you have had a lot of people push back on you on this. So, absolutely.
Yes, okay, Senator O'Reilly, just let Lisa Chambers come back on that particular point, if you don't mind.
The only pushback, remarkably, I'm asking for a Green Minister to invest in green projects. The only pushback has been from the Green Party, from Pauline O'Reilly, Brian Ledden, her colleague, and the Minister himself. Pauline pointed to the wave heights. I spoke to the wind industry last night and representatives. They pointed out that off the coast of Portugal during Storm Ciarán, they had 18-foot wave heights. That wind farm survived. Off the coast of Portugal, they managed to get through Storm Ophelia. That demonstrator project still survived. I'm not suggesting, Pauline, and I'm not sure if you're deliberately, taking up my point wrong. We're not talking about putting turbines off the West Coast tomorrow. What I'm saying is that it'll take us 10 years to be ready to do that. And what
but Lisa, you've conceded now, though. You have stated, though, that money has been allocated to start the mapping process. That's what you've been calling for. Does that not?
Not exactly, Greg. So extra staff has been provided to mapping, but we have no confirmation yet as to where they're going to go. Minister Ryan is saying that he's not going to start mapping off the West Coast until maybe 2027 or 2028 at the earliest. We don't actually have a timeline. His direct response to me was that he's focusing on the East Coast and the South Coast, and that's where my comments around a Dublin-centric approach have come from. All we're asking for is a small amount of resources just to start the mapping process. We cannot wait. The idea that we would wait until the technology is perfect, we'll be 10 years behind.
Understood. Pauline, come back in, please. Yes.
You're misunderstanding the point, Lisa. The point is about construction. The point isn't what survives if you have a big storm. The construction off the West Coast right now cannot happen because we don't have enough days where you can construct. But that aside, your overall starting point was about the fact that agriculture wouldn't have to do as much, and that you feel that not enough is being done off the West Coast. We are all on the same team here. We all want to see more wind off the West Coast. There's 80 gigawatts potential. But what you misunderstood from the start was that the responsibility and the resources was under your own Minister, Darragh O'Brien, who could have progressed it. And now it is being moved to Eamon Ryan. So, look, I don't know why you've taken this approach.
Ryan is saying no. Eamon Ryan won't let us get started. That's the point I'm making. And we are just to talk about agriculture.
Well, you said just to that specific claim, Lisa. Sorry, just about that the Minister Ryan won't said no.
We can get into an over and back here now, but ultimately, more resources were being sought from Darragh O'Brien that were not being given. Right. So now it is being moved into Eamon Ryan. But I don't want to go over and back on this. What I really want to say...
Can I clarify, Pauline, are you supportive, like the question I'm asking for a Green representative in the West, are you supportive or not in asking your party leader, who has responsibility now for resources to start the planning off the West Coast? I think suggesting that I'm misleading people, that the technology isn't there. The wind end, the actual experts, the engineers and the scientists are telling us they know that technology is on the way.
So, Pauline O'Reilly, are you in favour of Senator Chambers' calls that the West is not excluded as part of this process? The East and South seems to have been mentioned by.
We all want the mapping. We all want the mapping to happen everywhere. But if you have limited resources, you don't put it into something where the technology. Lisa may say that the technology exists. It doesn't. She's wrong.
Happy for it to go to the East and South Coast. That's the message, really, from a Green Party representative in the West.
Sorry, but you keep talking about experts. I am telling you that I have access to experts, and the technology simply does not exist.
Okay, but in terms of the money, but Pauline, just in terms of the money, then, just to the specific point that Lisa's mentioned a couple of times, if whatever money we have, all right, it might not be enough, whatever money you have seems to at this point now be earmarked for the East and South coasts. What Senator Chambers is saying, if I understand correctly, and perfectly capable of saying herself, is that at the very least you as a West of Ireland rep should be saying, that's great, it's a small pot, but let's give the West its fair share, or let's actually positively discriminate against the West. Would you back those calls? Would you be in favour of that?
We have to do all three areas. We have to do the East, we have to do the South, and we have to do... One second. We have to do all three. But what we need is energy security. And the technology does exist for the other parts. So we can't delay those. With resources for something that does not yet exist. But my ultimate point comes back to that you keep evading here is that you seem to feel that farmers wouldn't have to do as much if this was done. And that is
Pauline, I addressed that point if you were listening to me earlier, and I never said that. What I said was the farmers are already doing their fair share. They already work with nature. They're reducing their emissions using technology. I think the Green Party, and I agree with this, are not calling for a reduction in farming, and unless that position has changed. Now, when I talk about the technology, let's look at what other countries... Don't listen to me, Pauline. Let's look at what other countries are doing. So,
okay,
in terms
just
of the
before,
demapping,
right, we'll go back to that, Lisa. Just one quick response for Pauline on that specific point.
I want to come back in on that point. So, nobody in Ireland should be saying that enough is being done in any area. More needs to happen in every single area.
Yes, but in fairness, Pauline, the farmers are the cheap shot in this. The farmers were the heroes during lockdowns because they were going to save the world, right? And then very quickly it's gone back to it's cows breaking wind. That's the issue. What we're seeing is the lowest use of the likes of oil heating. We're not seeing as much burning of solid fuel. We're seeing farmers making their sacrifices, and that's all being offset by the fact that we're buying record levels of aviation fuel. So as a country as a whole, right, lots of people are making sacrifices, but it seems to be particularly rural Ireland that's doing the heavy lifting here, and still you come back for more, still more carbon tax goes on. I'm not sure if that's Lisa's point, but I couldn't resist jumping in there and making that point too, Paul. People do feel they have done enough.
I didn't actually address the point there, just to say Lisa has signed up to this. This is the point that I'm making. Lisa has signed up
to what, Pauline?
An emissions reduction from agriculture of 25%. Like, you've signed up to that, but now you seem to be saying that you don't want to go that far, that enough is being done already. And therefore you're being disingenuous.
Okay, Pauline, if Lisa feels that you're actually just misinterpreting her words, it's very important that you, Lisa Chambers, gets to say specifically what you're saying.
Can I just clarify, I think probably for the third or fourth time on this call, I'm well aware of the carbon budgets that we put into legislation. I'm well aware of the climate action plan. So I think this is part of the talking down to other, I think sometimes in the Green Party there's a view that nobody else can care about climate, or nobody else has any good ideas about climate, or they couldn't possibly understand what they're talking about. Everyone knows every sector has to reduce emissions, but we haven't been doing enough to find a new clean green energy source. And my focus has been on offshore renewable energy. And let's look at what other countries are doing. Pauline is saying that, yes, we have to map everywhere, but we just can't do the West Coast right now. Scotland finished all of their demapping more than 3 years ago. So why are we not finishing all of ours? Why is the West Coast having to wait? And let's look at what other countries are doing while Ireland is thinking about crossing the start line here in the West Coast. The ESB, our semi-state company, of which Eamon Ryan is a shareholder, is investing in an offshore floating project in Scotland, off Malin Head, and also another one off the Shetland Islands. England are developing a 16.5 megawatt farm in the Celtic Sea, and France are investing over 4 billion in offshore floating projects. And South Korea will have a fully operational wind farm floating offshore by 2028. They're the best wind corridor in the world. We're the second best. So while Eamon Ryan is thinking about crossing the start line and telling us the technology isn't ready, the wind industry, the actual experts, the scientists, the engineers, they're just asking, let them take the brakes off and let them get
I don't want to go round in circles. So, Pauline, just in your response, maybe not to reiterate the remarks that you made. I'm not trying to control what you say, and I hope you understand that. But just maybe without reiterating, unless you really want to, just to respond to the examples laid out by Senator Chambers there.
Well, I've mentioned it numerous times myself, and Lisa doesn't seem to be able to accept this, that the topography is different. And I've been to Scotland myself. The topography is different. The depths are different. The wind is different. So, the heights of the waves. And I have spoken
Pauline, is it just because I think I'm quite a normal person? Can I ask a question? Is it not the case really that in the West is grand, right? But really, we need to generate an awful lot of electricity for Dublin, for the data centres, for all of that kind of stuff. And that really we don't want to pump it across the country. We'd prefer not to take water from the Shannon. And really the reason this money is being focused in those areas is really to satisfy the electricity need. And it's not really, and it's really as basic as that.
I think that Lisa's trying to play on that instead of actually looking at the facts and putting herself forward as an expert here when actually...
But everyone's entitled to opinion, Pauline. Everyone's entitled to opinion.
I never said I'm an expert, and I know that I'm not, and neither are you, and neither is Eamon Ryan. I'm actually talking to other experts and putting forward...
Okay, can I just before we wrap it up then, put it to you, and then I'll get a response from Senator O'Reilly, and then let both of you go. I do appreciate your time. This is not the first time you've sort of been out of step, Lisa, with the government. There's been comments about immigration, and there's been comments about the referendum, whereby, you've sort of stepped out of what people would see as the Fianna Fáil line on certain things or on policies. Like, is this an election strategy? Are you wobbling in your support of Fianna Fáil? Because, as I say, you are speaking the people's language, in inverted commas, which often is not the language of your party. And I don't mean that anti-Fianna Fáil. I hope you understand the point I'm trying to make there.
No, I get the point you're making. No, I'm not out of line with my own party in terms of offshore renewable wind. And
but more generally, I'm talking about more generally as this campaign, Lisa. I'm moving past the energy, if that's okay. I mean, because Pauline might say, well, listen, I'm a loyal Green member, and you're not playing fair here because, you're playing with one foot in Dublin, one foot in the West. Like, is it fair what you're doing, sort of speaking not in line with Fianna Fáil policy, but running under the Fianna Fáil banner on a lot of stuff?
This is not out of line with Fianna Fáil policy, so I'll just make that point. And I've been working on the offshore wind piece for a number of years. This is not just part of...
I mean, more generally.
I genuinely believe this is so important for our region. We get so little investment. Our infrastructure is 34% of the EU average. So I make no apology for fighting for the region that we live in. Mm-hmm. And as a European candidate, this is a platform and an opportunity to advance my ideas and my vision for where we live.
Brilliant. I respect that.
The politics Greg to do is have no opinion.
No, I'm sorry. Well, I respect that. You're a regular guest on this radio station for the very reason you've just outlined. But I'll put the same question. I mean, Senator Chambers, Pauline decided to answer the question how she decided to answer it, but I'll ask you to respond however you'd like to respond as to how she's conducting her campaign.
look, it's up to Lisa. It's the electorate will decide whether they can trust what Lisa's saying. And, you know, I can only put out the facts. I'm as honest as I can be. It's a very cheap shot, I think, to say Fianna Fáil shouldn't work with Eamon Ryan and shouldn't work with the Greens when you've been in government for 4 years. And I think it's kind of unbelievable in a sense. Like, why did you not make this decision a couple of years ago if you didn't want to be in government with the Greens? But you've now decided we're the greenest government ever. You want to distance yourself. So now you're having a cheap shot a month before an election. And as my colleagues said in a tweet, is Lisa next going to come out and say that she actually voted the Green Party, having campaigned for Fianna Fáil? Nobody quite knows what you're going to come out with next.
Okay,
and you did actually say agriculture wouldn't need to be curtailed.
Play the ball, not the woman, Paulina.
Right.
I always come on the issues. You know?
Okay,
fair enough.
listen.
But look, I think, you know, we need to be honest with the electorate.
We should be working together on this, Pauline.
We should be working together.
You can't expect Pauline to turn on Eamon as well, can you?
Together and get that
all right.
For the West
Okay, listen, both of you. It's going to be
personal at the start, Lisa.
It's going to be an intriguing campaign. I think we can all agree on that. 27 candidates now vying for 5 seats. 2 of them, Pauline O'Reilly and Lisa Chambers. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. Okay, take care of yourselves. Interesting stuff. I think you would agree. 086 60 25,000 the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Not going to lie, it's been chilly enough on the it's been quiet enough this morning in terms of the texts and what have you, but things have really fired up following on from that conversation. All right, let's take a break. Back with more in a moment.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 12-page Punchestown Festival pullout with all the top tipsters in our stable, ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Go full Lidl this summer and get fired up for Board B approved barbecue meats, any 3 for €9, only on Lidl Plus. Try barbecue pork ribs, deluxe Irish Angus burgers and much more. Then cool off with the lowest prices guaranteed on branded beers like Heineken. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this summer. Get the facts for drinkware, visit drinkware.ie.
Hi, I'm thinking of getting another tattoo to go with my raging dragon one.
Sure, what are you looking for?
Well, maybe something like a...
Bunnies! He wants a row of bunny rabbits with twitchy noses.
Your vote is your voice, so don't let others decide for you.
All holding giant flowers.
Who's that?
Ella. She works in the bank next door.
Make sure you're registered to vote. Go to checktheregister.ie and be a voter, so that it's your voice that's heard. From Comisiún Tábháin, Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission.
Can you hear me?
Too cute. And like Sarah on it.
Cute? I'm a martial arts champion. And my boyfriend's name is Jack.
Recreational drugs can give you a different buzz, but they can all impair your driving. Some drugs can slow down your reactions, leaving you prone to error.
Other drugs can make you more aggressive. And overconfident behind the wheel. So you make rash judgments, drive too fast, and take dangerous risks.
Drug driving can endanger you, your passengers, and other road users. Never ever drive under the influence of drugs. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Beatty's Music Fest is back at the Glen Park Estate, Omagh on Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th of May. With an incredible 2-day lineup featuring Derek Ryan, Lisa McHugh, Johnny Brady, The Tumbling Paddies, Kjol, 2 Degrees and many more. Tickets are now on sale at beatty'sevents.com. Don't miss this unforgettable bank holiday weekend at Beatty's Music Fest.
Right, Paddy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
No, listen, it's good to have you listening. Good to have you getting involved. What have you got to say?
I was hoping to get on when them girls were on, but them ladies were on. But just the Green Party need to get a wee bit of clarity on what's going on. Like in this, no, it's not the livestock in Ireland that's going to cause global warming or the carbon content. You know. As Hamas got off 300 missiles into Israel got off maybe 500 to 1,000. Over 500,000 Russian soldiers were killed since the war started in Ukraine. I don't know how many Ukrainian soldiers are, and they're all fighting with missiles. Every time one of them taking off, like, it's nothing to do with the livestock in Ireland. I think the Green Party needs to get a wee bit of clarity.
I know
people
what you're saying, Paddy, but listen, if we were waiting till there were no wars in the world, and we were waiting to every country wasn't, building coal-fired plants, we'd never get started at all. I mean, do we not just have to do our bit and hope that the world follows?
Yes, in the perfect world, yeah, I agree with you there, no problem. But if we slaughtered every livestock in Ireland today, right, and stopped producing beef or a cattle or anything, we would still have the same amount of. We would still have the same amount of global warming, same amount of carbon contact on the world. Just because we do it in this country, somebody said we're going to be all right above us.
Yeah, but we started the smoking ban,
world.
And now we have generations not smoking. They followed us around the world. I take your point, Paddy, and I know we could start talking about. We're also talking about importing beef from Brazil to Europe to here, Eastern European beef coming in here. How is that environmentally friendly? I know there's a lot of holes in it, but I just wonder, do we have to try and start somewhere?
Well, maybe, but I don't think it's. I don't think the Green Party is in touch with there are people that they're supposed to be representing. Because be like, as you said there not so long ago, during the COVID, the farmers and they held the country together.
They were the saviours, and then all of a sudden it was back to saying.
Yeah,
you see,
exactly.
The thing is, and I just think it's worth reiterating because another layer of carbon tax come in here. We've been burning the least amount of gas, oil, coal, turf than we have forever, and all of that was undone by more flights in and out of Dublin. Now, it's us on the flights as well, by the way. These planes aren't empty, but it is a bit of a crack in the teeth when you're struggling to pay your bills. There's a carbon tax to discourage you driving and burning oil and stuff, and yet it makes no difference really as a countrywide because of the aviation fuel. But Paddy, I get you. I get you, I just wonder sometimes where do we start? Because your argument stands, right? But we would never do anything then because you're always going to be right. There's always going to be reasons as to why we shouldn't bother even starting, Paddy. Do you get me? So I fully respect what you're saying, but I'm just, what's the alternative?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the alternative is. Right. I'm not a scientist or academic, but I know. I mean, we produce we're electric cars, hybrid cars. And I mean, the amount of carbon it takes to even produce one battery,
I know,
is a wee bit hypocritical.
They do say over the course over the lifetime of the vehicle, it's zero emissions from the exhaust, and over the lifetime of the vehicle, it's less impactful. Come here.
It's really for the Green Party to turn around and say it's the farmers' fault
I know.
People who cut turf.
So if you're voting, if you're voting in the elections, there's 27 candidates. How far down the list are you going to go?
Oh, I'll vote local people.
I think it's me. I think it's only me and you that aren't running, Paddy. Everyone else seems to be running for either the council or the Europeans.
Well,
listen, it's been lovely. It's been lovely chatting to you, Paddy.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Thanks so much.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Payment penalties time bomb. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out why an avalanche of payment penalties could hit farmers buying fertiliser. Calls for TAM's payments to be fast-tracked. We reveal all the details of the new forestry compensation scheme. We profile the spiralling cost of controlling TB. Everything you need to plan for the summer show season in our comprehensive pullout. Plus our guide to the new low-cost loans to retrofit your house.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Mark James Menswear Strabane celebrate 20 years in business. Join the celebrations with 20% of all stock. Elevate your style as we mark this milestone. 20% off starts Friday 3rd of May at Mark James Menswear Strabane.
On Business Matters this week, we'll hear from Laura Bonner, founder of the Muff Liquor Company, whose investors include Russell Crowe, Ed Sheeran, Jimmy Carr and Ronan Keating. The company has just signed an exclusive distribution agreement for the United States. So join me, Chris Ashmore, after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office team to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Okay, Highland Radio is out and about today. We are at Bus Éireann for the Delight of the Customer Day. Sean can relax because I'm not going over there yet. I'm just letting our listeners know it's happening. We'll be going over there in about 6 or 7 minutes. But if you're in and around Letterkenny, if you're in and around Letterkenny Shopping Centre, you'll see the Highland Radio logos and our van and what have you, and our team are down there. So they're there from 11 to 2 p.m, supplying great music, social media coverage as well. The staff at the Letterkenny bus station will be on hand to meet and greet customers, and there are many prizes to be won today, including one for all vouchers and a luxury hamper. Sean's going to remind us of all of that in a moment. But if you're in and about Letterkenny, and the weather looks lovely down there, call over and say hello, and there might be something free for you there. All right, we were talking about fishing earlier as part of your voice, your community, and Paddy Donaghy is from the Loch Swilly Junior Angling Club, because we were talking about too, how do we get more young people fishing? Plenty are fishing too. Paddy, good morning to you. Imagine why. How are you keeping?
Hello, Greg. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Right now, as part of the Loch Swilly Junior Sea Angling Club, there's quite a bit of good news in that regard. Young people getting involved in fishing, competing in fishing. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, we take young ones out fishing out to sea, and that's going quite well. We have quite a few members there at the minute. That's all the younger ones that we're dealing with. So we could have ones maybe as young as 8 there, then up to 21. We have members at the minute have qualified for the World Championships, and they're actually being hosted in Ireland this year. That's our own club that's hosting it from Downage.
All right, and that's in August this year. That's going to be a great buzz, isn't it? Okay, so that's handy. They don't have to travel too far. They don't have to travel too far to take part in the World Sea Angling Championships, Paddy.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. There's 3 members that's going to be fishing there in the Irish team for the World Championship. So it's a great achievement. And
it's a great sport or pastime activity, however if you want to describe it, Paddy, for young people to get involved in. I don't think anyone who's sort of, taken their sons out, I've done it and others have. There's nothing like that initial reaction, is there, when they catch or get the first fish? It's just a wonderful thing.
It's brilliant when you see the younger ones and them catching their first fish. It's great excitement on it altogether.
Right, so any parents listening or guardians listening that sort of would like their children to get involved in fishing, to try it, see if it's something they could do through the summer or what have you, can people join the likes of the Loch Swilly Junior Angling Club and the other clubs we have around the county?
Of course, we're always looking for new members and everything, because of course the members that you have there, they're always getting older as well. So there's actually a senior club as well. The Swilly Senior Club as well, for any older members, and they're always looking for new members as well, so there is a lot going on that side of the fishing as well, so.
Great, okay. Stay in touch with us, Paddy. We'll try and set something up ahead of August, get chatting to the young ones as they take part in that competition, especially with it being in Downings in our own backyard, so we'll...
that'd be great.
No, we'll definitely follow that up.
Yeah, the opening ceremony is actually going to be in Letterkenny.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be based in the Station House Hotel, and the ceremony, we're going to have a parade going down through the street with all the different countries as well.
Wow, looking forward to that. Brilliant.
Just to mark open ceremony and all that. So
it ticks a lot of my boxes. There's fishing and there's parades and parties. All right, take care, Paddy. Thank you so very much indeed, Paddy Donaghy there. Now, Donegal Down Syndrome, the Donegal branch of Down Syndrome Ireland, has arranged for a visit to Letterkenny by Anya Flynn. She's the Director of the Decision Support Services. Now, this is a unique chance to hear directly about how the new Capacity Act may affect your ability to support your family member or how to arrange for the future when you too might need support. Anya Flynn, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, thank you.
And this is an awful lot of people campaigned for this for a long time. This is really how we implement and how we avail of the changes in how we deal with these things.
Yeah, we're talking here about the Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Act, which was finally commenced in April of last year. We just celebrated our first birthday as operational legislation last Friday. So this is an act which does a lot. And as you say, it was waited for a long time. The Act repeals the Victorian Wards of Court system for adults, which has operated since 1871, the Lunacy Regulation Act of 1871, so around for 150 plus years. So no more wards of court. All adult wards of court are coming out of wardship. And this is replaced then with a new framework for supported decision-making with tiered levels of support measured to what a person might require. So that's to supply the necessary supports, if people need them, in relation to making decisions about their personal welfare and their property and affairs. And as you say, for all of us to think about planning ahead, we don't know when at a future point in our lives we might need support to exercise our own right to make decisions.
So currently there might be people with an intellectual disability, maybe an acquired brain injury, dementia, things that are current that this talk will be very useful for. Are you saying also for those who aren't in that position at the moment but want to ensure if they do become incapacitated in any way that their decisions are followed through, that now is actually also a good time to inform yourself and put your arrangements in place?
Yeah, well, thinking first of all about people who have perhaps, as you say, an intellectual disability, acquired brain injury, dementia, enduring mental illness, we aren't saying for a moment, and the Act doesn't say that they need to do something or that they need a formal arrangement. It's always going to depend on individual circumstances and the decisions that people need to take. And the guiding principles here are very important. The first guiding principle states that every adult is presumed to have capacity, and it's no longer about diagnosis or how somebody presents. This is a functional approach to capacity. It's about the thing that you need to decide and when you need to decide it. So moving away from that unsound mind idea that applied in wardship, which could really consume all of your decisions. This will be very much an individual thing. People shouldn't approach it thinking about how I am or how my loved one is, but rather what they need to decide
so
on whether
say
the Act can deploy supports.
The parents or guardians of someone with an intellectual disability, and they advocate for them at the moment, okay, but life is life and we never know what's going to happen next, and you'd be well aware of the anxiety that causes the caregiver because they feel, well, what happens when I'm not there? Can things be put in place now that maybe to some extent might ease some of their concerns using this Act?
Yeah, and one important thing to say, and sometimes this isn't fully understood, there is an established but a misconceived idea that the next of kin gets to decide currently. Next of kin is such an unhelpful term, and I really wish we could do away with it, because there actually never has been a legal basis for an adult to decide for another adult as of right or automatically outside of a formal arrangement. The Act has taken nothing away in that regard. Instead, it's supplied potential for the, in quotes, next of kin to step into a formal role if that's required. But yeah, so the Act, one of our most important audiences in the Decision Support Service are family carers, and of course the ultimate potential service user. So our aim is always to reassure, to say, look, here is an opportunity to avail of supports. It's not being imposed, and people shouldn't feel that they have to rush to do something new. Again, they should always think about, well, what comes up, what might need to be decided? Is it a decision making around, for example, an inheritance, an award of compensation, property that needs to be sold, healthcare that might need to be accessed, who's the third party in that kind of arrangement, who's saying who's deciding here, and does the Act have something to offer here that can help? So we aim always to reassure, and it's a continuing conversation. We're more than happy to reach out to these people.
And I think that's why this talk is so important, because even listening now, people might be a little unsure where they fall into it at this stage in the life or into the future and what have you. And that's why this talk is so important. It's at the Station House, Letterkenny, on Wednesday the 8th, and it's not a huge time commitment, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. There's going to be huge interest in this, and of course, you know, there's always going to be a limit to capacity, so booking is essential. And you can go on to eventbrite.ie and search Conversation with Anya Flynn. There's a €5 charge. It's a small charge. I think it's really to offset the cost of refreshments and what have you. Okay. And also Donegal-Down syndrome can be contacted. I have the number here. There's no point me reading it out because we're reading our own numbers all the time. Call us and we'll pass it on. And as I say, I think there's going to be a big turnout on you for this because
it affects a lot
of
sorry,
people.
Greg, but people can find out more about us on decisionsupportservice.ie. You mentioned there thinking about how the Act applies to all of us, how all of us should think about planning ahead. And that's going to be a key focus of our public information campaign this year. But lots more information is available on the website about the existing support framework. You will find there, and I hope they're useful, documents like an easy read guide to the Act and a document called My Choices, which we hope will also help, but also document materials that point towards the importance of planning ahead for all of us.
Anya, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to having you in Letterkenny for that important talk. Take care of yourself. That's a conversation with Anya Flynn, who's the Director of the Decision Support Services. It is in Station House, Letterkenny, Wednesday the 8th, between 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. You can book your place by going to eventbrite.ie, where you can search Conversations with Anya Flynn. Donegal-Down syndrome locally, you can call them on 9103527, and I'm sure they will help wherever they can. Okay, right. We are going to be going down to Letterkenny bus station very shortly, you know.
Are you thinking about an electric car? Have all your questions and concerns answered at the one-day EV event in Divers Hyundai on Saturday the 11th of May. Come along and meet the experts, including members of the Donegal Electric Vehicle Owners Association. Also, talk to Barry Sharkey about installing a home charger. See the stunning Ioniq 5N that's just arrived and test drive our full Hyundai EV range. If you're thinking electric, this event is a must for you, and it's on Saturday the 11th of May from 10 to 4 at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Get the moss problems in your lawn sorted with Mobacter, the natural product to remove moss from your lawn. Apply Mobacter now and forget, no raking necessary. Mobacter will feed your lawn for 100 days and will not stain your patio areas. Mobacter is the only moss remover approved by the Royal Horticultural Society. Mobacter Lawn Fertiliser for beautiful green, moss-free lawns from your local co-ops and garden stores. Check out mobacter.ie for all Viano products, or find us on Facebook.
Get full-on summer feels at Centra this bank holiday weekend. With great offers like inspired by Centra sirloin steaks 440 gram, only €8. Mix and match 3 for €10 on selected barbecue meats. And Graham Norton New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, now €10. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Get summer garden ready with Homeland Letterkenny at their Garden Super Saturday this Saturday 4th of May. Meet the Garden Centre team and enjoy exclusive offers including Homeland Peat Reduced Multi-Purpose Compost, buy 2 get 1 free. Bedding plants, buy 3 for €10 and buy 2 get 1 free in all shrubs. For all this and more, see homeland.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McIlhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McIlhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McIlhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, so the rain should clear the region, or has cleared the region at this point, to leave a cloudy but mostly dry day. Rather muggy, temperatures as high as 18 degrees and staying cloudy this evening and tonight with perhaps some light patchy drizzle for most areas, although most areas should remain dry. Well, I can see from here that it is nice and bright and potentially warm too down at Bus Éireann, the bus station in Letterkenny. Sean Quinn's with us. Hi, Sean.
Morning, Greg. How are you? Yes, it's definitely sunshine
We're
here.
just going to have to turn your mic down a little bit. It's overdriving for us there, Joe. Sorry. Go on, Sean.
I'm saying we're in T-shirts here. It's beautiful weather. We have a big crowd here, and we're here today for the Bus Éireann Appreciation Day. And we couldn't really have picked a better day to do this. You can see it's live action here because I have a bus coming right behind me at the moment. I think it's heading for Galway. So we're real time. We're absolute real time here, Greg.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to see it. So what's happening today? You got there at 11. As you say, it's part of the Delight the Customer Day. So what's on offer from us? What's on offer from Bus Éireann?
So what we're doing is we're entertaining them with fantastic music, and what Bus Éireann are doing as an appreciation to their customers is they've got some great goodies to give away. So they've got one for all vouchers, and they've also got a lovely hamper what they got from McGee's Chemist. So anybody that's coming down here today, whether you're taking a bus somewhere or you're just coming into the shopping centre, come in and say hello and enter the draw, and you never know, you might just be lucky.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, and the draw's free to enter. You just have to come up and...
Yeah, just come up to one of the staff here. Martina's here. She's already got loads of people in the drum. So if you're in the area, just come down. And because the day is so good, Greg, guess what? We've got an ice cream van here.
No, you don't.
We do. To my. You can't see to my left, but the ice cream van is here. So I'd expect you down here about 12:15. Would I say for a 99?
Well, no, I've so much work to do. It would be at least 2:15, Sean.
I'll see you at 12:30 then. Actually, I have a good challenge for you, Greg. I dare you to come down because I'd love to see you actually making an ice cream.
That's your and David James thing. We're going to have to come up with something else. I can't encroach on you and David. It's you and former colleague Kevin pulling pints. I think it's you and Sean pulling ice creams. Me and you are going to have to dance off or something. We'll have to do something else.
What about maybe reversing a bus or something? That might be a bit dangerous.
I don't think Bus Éireann would allow me in behind the wheel of their bus.
I don't think so. And to be fair, I wouldn't blame them. I've seen you driving into Highland. It's not good.
No, you're right there, Sean. You are right. Hey, but come here, what a day for it, though. And you're going to be hooking into John Bresnan as well, I think, over the course of the early afternoon, Sean.
We are indeed, yeah. And what we're hoping to do is that we're going to do the draw around about 20 to 2, Greg. So if you're, as I said, if you're in the area for the next couple of hours, pop in. There's loads of parking here. Call across, get an ice cream, say hello to the staff, and you'll learn a little bit more about the services that Bus Éireann provide on a daily basis. And as I said, it's great that they're able to do this, to give back to their customers. And so, as I said, if you're in Letterkenny, come down and see us, and we'll be back in with John. I think it's close to 1 o'clock. We're going to come back in.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. And of course, for those outside Letterkenny or not in the area, they can get a sense of what's happening across our socials too, I'm sure, Sean.
Yeah, there's loads of videos going up. Come across and say hello to the Highland team. We'll get a few photographs taken as well with you. And listen, we've been so blessed with the weather. How much rain have we had here in the last 2-3 months? Today, blue skies. I'm in a t-shirt, 19 degrees. I've got an ice cream in about the next 10 minutes. What a job I have, Greg.
You're working on your golf and tan. White upper arms, everything's working
please
perfect.
God, yep, please God.
Okay. Listen, enjoy the day, and we'll chat to you again soon. Thanks so much for joining us for now, Sean.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care. Thanks, Joe, Anya, and the team down there as well. If you're in and around the bus stop, in and around, the Bus Éireann bus stop there, in and around the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, call in, say hi. There's ice cream there as well. Sounds absolutely wonderful. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. As I say, the lines lit up. It was quiet, Caroline. It was quiet enough in the text machine earlier on, wasn't it? Like we're going, well, where's everyone? And all of a sudden, the phones lit up because people were very moved by what was talking about. Moved to comment, not moved emotionally. But the way they came in late, I'm not going to get to all of them today, so we're going to do some of those tomorrow. And in fact, maybe we might pick up some of these topics on the Friday panel tomorrow. We've got 3 great guests. We're going to be talking about some really interesting topics. We might talk about, do you think, for an example, that we've got 27 European candidates now. You only really need one person to nominate you. Should you need 500, 1,000 signatures before you can become a candidate? Or do you think it's great, that it's great, though, that democracy's in action, and anyone can throw their hat into the ring. Also, too, there's going to be an awful lot of people that are able to vote in the local elections, including those that only moved to Ireland recently, from wherever they may have come. You don't need to be a citizen to vote. Some people not happy about that. We'll see what our panel thinks, see what you think. That and so much more besides, topics-wise, and we'll see whatever's happening overnight. So that's the Friday panel from 9 till 10 tomorrow. It's a great hour of radio, so make sure you tune in for that and for the rest of the day. A caller says the alternative is for Ireland and Europe to return to regenerate organic farming, ban factory farming and fishing, support local farmers and fishermen, ban data centres and all useless plastic products, and start reusing hemp or bamboo, which can be grown faster and can be used again instead. Another caller says there is alternatives to fossil fuel, which Ireland had been to the forefront for many years. So what happened to the technology that was created by these companies and by colleagues in universities of Ireland going back to the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s respectively? European elections, a caller says it's a joke, it's a paycheck for failed politicians that can't get into the Dáil. Another, the Green Party are a cult. If they're serious about cutting emissions, they should boycott all the big polluters, USA, China, India, Brazil, but they won't. That won't happen because big business run the show and poor people like us have to pay. And lastly, a caller believes global warming is a myth. Go and tackle the big industries that are pouring smoke into the air every day and find them. Leave the wee man alone. But sure, if global warming is a joke or a myth, sure, it doesn't matter what the big boys are pumping into the sky, because it's making no difference according to the belief system of that listener. Thank you to Caroline Orr, who researched and produced, and assisted by Shannon Wilkin. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, as I mentioned, at 9. Stay tuned. John Breslin's back around the Northwest after the news at 12, including great interviews, conversation and music, and linking into to our colleagues down at Letterkenny Bus Station.